Guys, we'll wait for a couple of more minutes and then start up. Since there are only few joined me. Let's wait for a couple of minutes and then start up. Hi everyone. So let's start. Okay, I hope I'm audible and my screen is visible to you. So we'll start from where we left yesterday. That is loops. Okay. So what we were done with palindrome number. So we'll start with Armstrong number today. Okay. Given a number n, you need to check whether the given number is Armstrong number or not. Now, what is Armstrong number? Let us see. A number is said to be Armstrong number if it is equal to sum of the cube of its digits. Okay. So I'll explain it to you by example. Say you're given a number, say 1, 2, 3. So it will be called an Armstrong number if its individual digits cube, that is 1 cube plus 2 cube plus 3 cube is equal to 123. If this statement holds, then it is Armstrong number. If it is not equal, then it is not Armstrong number. Is this much clear? Pretty straightforward. You need to get each digit and you need to cube it and add it to a variable and compare it at the end. So we'll be doing something similar. Yesterday, what we did was we were increasing the palindrome, increasing the place value. In this, we don't need to increase the place value. We just need to get the digit and then eliminate it. Get the digit and eliminate it, and just add it to the cube. Okay. So I'll write the logic straight away. If you have any doubts, you can ask me again. Okay. So let's first define the scanner as usual because we have a user input. Int n, that is the number. Again, in this also, since we will be getting the digit and eliminating it, so we'll keep a copy so that we don't lose our number. Now we will initialize one more variable in this, that is going to be sum of cubes. So that let's initialize that and name that variable. So for double this, we'll get each digit in qubit. So if it is, say the number is 12, so this implies that thing will be 1 cube plus 2 cube. If this is equal to 12, then it is an Armstrong number. Otherwise, it's not. Okay. Let's initialize sum by 0 because initially the sum is 0. So if you want to do it by for loop, let's do it by for loop. For copy n equals n, comma copy n greater than 0. I'll show you. So just wait for a second. Equals copy n divided by 10. Okay. In digit, let's get the last digit. Yesterday, everyone had attended. So I'm assuming like this is what we did to get the last digit of the number. It's just a copy variable. You'll know why we need it. Just wait for some time. So sum is equals to sum plus digit into digit into digit. That's what it is cube is about, and that's it. Now, why do we need copy n? Because at the end we'll compare it with n. So if we just directly use n here, then we lose the value of n while dividing it by 10. And if we lose the value, how will we compare it here? So we need to keep a copy variable that we can use. If you're using n inside, then you can compare it with copy here. If you're not using n here inside, then you can use copy here and n here. That's the implications. Okay. Now, if it is equal to, that means it is Armstrong number. For Armstrong number, we need to print what? 1. So that means system.out.print 1. Else, that means it is not equal. That's the way you initialize the for loop. Now, if you are not willing to, declare it here, if you're then you can just do it here. Then also it is going to be perfectly fine because we are not using copy anywhere else apart from for loop. This was the for loop, and some of you might now want to know about while loop, so let's do it by while loop. So copy n equals n, because for while loop we need to initialize outside. While copy n is greater than 0. Let's just copy paste these things because these will stay as explained earlier. This will be exactly same. Copy n equals copy n divided by 10 because that's the operation that is getting skipped. Okay. So for those all those who want to understand what is the difference between for loop and while loop, there's no difference. There's just the extra 2 lines of code. We did the exact same copy paste here. We write a while loop here. The middle condition will come inside the brackets of while loop. You do the initialization outside while loop. That's the condition. And the condition that you are executing after the entire execution of for loop, that is what you need to paste out at the last of the while loop. No, you don't need while loop. It's just that you can do either of these methods. I'm just explaining both the methods so that nobody has confusion like why not do by while loop or why not do by for loop. This way, either you can do this from line 22 to 28, or you can do from line 16 to 20. It's just the 2 extra lines of code. There's no such difference between why I use for loop or why I use while loop. Okay. There is no difference between for loop and while loop. Any while loop can be converted into for loop. Just the two initialization and the initialization, and this has to be shifted inside. That's it. There's no other difference. I hope I'm clear now. Okay, so we are failing somewhere. Why are we failing? Let's test the input. Okay, why is it coming as this one? Oh yeah, while and for causing error. That's the correct. Sorry, that's my mistake. No, it will definitely pass. Yeah, that's it. Line 19. Okay, what's that? So that's basically you need to cube the digits. So you are taking the value of sum initially and digit into digit into digit. This is equal to digit cube. That's what we have written here. So that's what we are doing here. For each digit, we are adding the cube of digit. Okay, I'll explain the code again. We are taking the input here till now, till line 12. I hope everything is pretty much clear. We did a initialization in sum. That means whatever, like we need to cube the sum. Okay, so if you're not able to think of line 16, you can use this code as well. The while loop code is also perfectly fine. There's no issues. I can comment this out and uncomment this. Then also this code will perfectly submit. There won't be any issues. Okay. So yeah. So what we are basically doing in this is when we take जब हम एक कोई number लेते हैं तो what we ideally want to do in this is हमें उसकी last digit चाहिए. Like we want the last digit basically at the end. When we get the last digit, we'll cube the last digit and then we'll remove the last digit. तो हम क्या कर रहे हैं इसमें? हमारे पास जो इनिशियल नंबर है उसको हम नंबर को ले रहे हैं. देन वी आर उसका लास्ट डिजिट हमने निकाला बाय मॉड्यूलिंग बाय 10. Everybody knows now modulo, so that is pretty much clear. We got the last digit in this modulo, we added it to the sum. When we have successfully added it to the sum, we'll get rid of the last digit. तो हम last digit को हटाते कैसे थे? We divide it by 10 like we yesterday did in the palindrome part. Okay, now it is clear. All right, those who wants to do dry run, let's dry run for loop itself. Okay, so we'll run for the case of 153. Okay, so 153 means copy is right now 153 before entering the for loop. The digit that we got by first is 3. Sum was initially 0. So 0 plus 3 cube. Okay, so that's 27. So next will be, now we go here, copy and divide by 10. So that becomes 15. 15 percentage 10 will become 5. So 3 cube is what? 27. 20 plus 7 plus 5 cube. Okay. Now we again go outside. Copy n equals copy and divide by 10. 15%, 50 and divide by 10 is what? 1. So 1% is what? 1. So 27 plus 5 cube, that is going to be what? 5 cube is 125. 125 plus 27, that is 152. 152 plus what did we find the last digit? That is 1. So let's do it as 1 cube. Okay. Now 1 is again divided by 10. That becomes 0. Is 0 greater than 0? No. So we come out of this for loop. The sum value is what? 153. We come here. Sum is what? 153. N was what? 153. This holds. So it will print 1. Done. बेसिकली ऑल इन ऑल इसमें हमें करना क्या है, हम लास्ट डिजिट निकालेंगे नंबर की और फिर उस लास्ट डिजिट को हटा देंगे, लास्ट डिजिट निकालेंगे हटा देंगे. दैट्स व्हाट वी आर आइडियली डूइंग इन दिस. Get the last digit and remove the last digit. So till the time there are no more digits left, no more digits left, that means the number will be 0. That's it. Okay. See, for whenever you divide a modulo by 10, so divide by 10 basically to get rid of the last digit of the number. Modulo it by 10 is basically to get the last digit of the number. That's it. Yeah, this logic will work for 4 digits because the logic will continue till the time is copy n is not equal to 0. That's it. So if there were 4 digits, there would be an extra for loop iteration. That's it. The number of digits, the number of for loop iterations. Line 26 and line 19 are exactly same, guys. What's the doubt now? We are just cubing the sum because that's what the Armstrong number means. That's what the question says. A number is said to be Armstrong number if it's equal to sum of cube of its digits. So when we got the digit, we have got the digit in this line. So we'll be cubing it and adding it to this. Any more doubts now? Pretty much clear. Both the logics. The logic behind this one is the same, Govind. That's what I explained. What the logic is, you need to get the last digit and remove the last digit, get the last digit and remove the last till the time there's no digit left. That's the logic. Course doubt session will be on 21st, not today. All right. So yeah, I'm moving to the next problem, that is Java staircase. Much asked by you people. So let's solve this. Okay. So the question asks, you given an n, you need to print a staircase that looks like this for n equals 4. So let's make some observations now. For n equals 4. Okay. So we have hashes. Okay, hashes denote hashes and spaces denote spaces because there is spaces printed here and then there's hash printed here. So we have some spaces also printed. And what's the total? So in the first line, how many hashes are there? 1. Correct? And how many spaces are there? You can identify on the last line because in last line there's no space at the start. So that means there will be 3 spaces that are printed because space is also counted as a character. Okay. And total is what? 1 plus 3 is what? 4. So total 4 characters are printed. That means total characters I'm talking about. Okay. Now in second line, how many hashes? 2 hashes. How many spaces? 2 spaces. Total is again 4. Third line, 3 hashes, 1 space. Total is what again? 4. Last line, 4 hashes, none spaces, total characters 4. Now observation times. What is happening? The total characters in each line that are printed are always constant. It is clearly evident from this figure also that each line ends on hashes and they are all in symmetrical positions. So if they're in symmetrical position, that means the number of characters that are printed are going to be exactly same. Okay, understand this. The characters, it depends on the character count that how long the line will be. It is not like that someone will say, if I print a number 1 and then hash, then the line will get smaller and it won't be symmetrical. That doesn't happen like that. It's a computer-based compiler, so it will be on the number of characters. So if the number of characters are exactly same, then only the things will be symmetrical. Otherwise, they will be asymmetrical. Asymmetrical meaning they won't be in line. So they will be somehow tilted. Okay, clear till here? Any doubts still here? I don't see any other doubts. So yeah, moving forward. Now, what do you see? Is there a pattern? There's only one hash in the first set, two hashes, 3 and 4. How are they increasing? So 1, 2, 3, 4. For each line, one hash is increasing. But we also know at the same time, spaces are going to remain, the total number of characters are going to remain constant. Okay. Yeah, Nishan will take a practice questions. Don't worry. We'll have extra sessions for that. We have some spare doubt, 2, 3 doubt sessions and the classes for that only. The teaching part is pretty much covered for you. So Ritik will also be taking questions today, mostly. Okay. So yeah, coming back to the point, uh, 1 hash, 2 hash, 3 hash, and 4 hash. That means the hashes are incrementing in a same order. But we also know from a first observation that total characters are going to be constant. So that means something has to decrease, and we know it is the total characters are constant, and the hashes are going to increase. That means spaces are going to obviously decrease, and it is clearly evident that spaces are decreasing in one by one. Okay, so we also know that in the first line, always one hash is going to be printed. So we'll be using this fact, and we can come up with this formula now that hashes plus spaces is equal to n, that is the number of characters in the line. Clear till here? Is this formula clear? Line number 10, any doubts? This is the observation part. Now let's start coding, because now we have the majority of things. Let's define the scanner first to take n input. Now let's take the integer n, that is equal to sc dot next int. Okay. Now we'll define hashes as a variable. Okay. Hashes in the first and how many hashes we have to print? We are for sure that it's always going to be one hash only. Okay. So hashes is initializer in one. Now what is going to be the spaces? Okay. We know in this particular equation, we have n that is given by user. We have hashes that we have initialized by 1. So we can get spaces easily because we just have to mathematically calculate, that is transfer hashes there. So the equations becomes spaces equals n minus hashes. Clear? No doubts. N minus hashes is the spaces variable. Now let's start printing. For int I equals 1, I less than equal to n, I plus plus. Because why? I less than equal to n, because we need to print n lines since there is going to be 4 lines. Okay. So now let's start the other for loop. For the first thing, what we can notice is spaces printed first, then hashes are printed. So we can do that. Let's do a j loop. For int j equals 1, j less than equal to spaces, j plus plus. And what do we need to do? System.out.print, add a space here. That's a proper way to print a character. Ensure that you don't do a print ln. Many people will be facing issues because they are doing print ln. So each character is printed in one line. That way it is wrong. We need to first print both spaces and hashes. Then we need to go about it. Okay. J less than equal to what now? Hashes, because spaces are done. So we'll print hashes. J is another variable. See, if you are using two for loops, one for loops inside other for loop, so I cannot use I here, no? That's why. Why do we need to take line number 23? Because spaces are going to be variable. We don't know how many spaces are there. So how will you print those number of spaces? You need to do a for loop. When you know it is going to be a variable, we always do a for loop. So that's why we did again a for loop. Now we need to print what? We need to print hashes. And after this for loop is done, then our code is completed. So we'll do a system.out.println so that our line is broken. Okay. Now, before going to the next iteration, what we need to do, the hashes are going to increase. So hashes plus plus, that is, this means we discussed it yesterday, that hashes is equals to hashes plus 1. And similarly for space, so the hashes are increasing, then space is going to decrease, because for obvious reasons we have that same formula, or you can use the same formula to identify spaces again. N minus hashes. This will also give same result, and this is equivalent to doing spaces minus minus. That's our observation from above. Okay. And let's run this code now. Let's run it for 4. Yeah, these are not properly aligned. It's passed. Now, any doubts? The main not clear after line 23rd. So basically, we have arrived the for loop. What do we know now? We need to first print the number of spaces that we have calculated and then the number of hashes. And since it's a variable, so how will you print the number of spaces? Because it's not going to fix. It will be first initially 4, 5, 7, depending on it, and then it will start reducing to 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So how will you do it? Either you need to do it manually, but manually is not possible. Yeah, line number 32 is 33 is compulsory. Otherwise, what we'll do? We'll be printing one hashes in 3 spaces. So what we'll be doing is we'll be printing such 4 hashes like this. So what we'll be doing, we'll be print say this starts 1, 2, 3 space hash. Now we have not reduced it. So again 1, 2, 3 space again hash. This is what we'll be doing. This is because the compiler is not showing the correct manner. The compiler sometimes faces issues. So if you're sure about your logic, then just do it. Okay. So yeah, I'll show you how the code is going to execute. See, we'll be printing 4 lines. So let me just print 4 lines here. Okay. And another line. Okay. So yeah, let's come down this for loop. For j equals 1, initially spaces is what? Spaces is 3 because that is n minus 1. Because we are increasing after each iteration. There's this for loop is inside this for loop. I'll show you how this. See, initially I is 1. Okay. Hash spaces are 3. Hashes are what? 1. Okay. So let's start printing. We go from for int I j equals 1, j less than equal to spaces, j plus plus. That means we need to print 3 spaces. So first space printed, again for loop executes, all the conditions hold it, second space executed, third space executed, and then this loop is ended. Okay. Then we come here. We start from int j equals 1, j less than equal to hashes. That is correct. This doesn't execute here. We print this. So we are here. We printed a hash. Okay. Now coming to here, we give a line break. So we press enter. So our cursor comes here. Okay. Hashes plus plus. That means hashes now become what? 2. Okay. That's a database problem. We are working on it. It will be solved within a day or two. Don't worry about it. Line number 39. 39 is the formula that we created here. Space is always equal to n minus hashes because we know this always holds. This will always hold. You can alternatively do is what this also. That's why. Similar way, we do 2 spaces and then 2 hashes. Then in the third way, 1 space and 3 hashes. In the fourth, what we'll do is 4 hashes. N is taken here. N is taken at the start because it's the user input. User input you always take at start. See, consider space as the same character. Like consider space as an underscore. Then you will understand. Now if I run this code, see, now it has a line. That's what we are printing. Instead of this underscores, imagine these are spaces. Why I taken? Because we need to run the outer for loop for 4 times. So we need to do it for n times. So that's why we run a for loop. See, when I print underscore, these all are aligned. All clear. Line number 33. 33 is another for loop just to print hashes the same way we are printing spaces. You want to use input 6? All right, let's use input 6. They are just printing underscores for a reference. Never submit these to these. See, 5 underscores are printed, then 1 hash is printed. 4, 2 hashes. 3, 3 hashes. 2, 4 hashes. Line number 38 and 39 are because in the next line, how many hashes were there? Hashes were always increasing by 1. That's why. No, you cannot use for loop first for the hashes and then for spaces, because then what will happen? Let's try. The best way to learn is to try coding on your own. You learn what are the mistakes. Okay, now I run the code. See, this is how it is printed. Is this correct? We wanted a staircase that is mirrored to this. That's why we need to print spaces first. Okay. Now all those who have doubt in this line, like by what's the use of line 30 plus 30? Okay, that's the doubt now. Let's comment this out. Let's go to the console, run the code. Let's see what comes as output. Is it matching the staircase? No, that's fine. One sec, I remove the hashes to the entire. Yeah, let's run the code again. The line, if you're not using line 30 and 39, that means hashes and spaces will remain constant. If they'll remain constant, what they'll print is going to be this. And we want this, right? That's why we need to increment hashes in each line. Because if where are we changing hashes in this entire thing? Are we changing hashes anywhere? No, but we need to increment hashes one by one. That's the use of line 30 and 39. Line 29 is just a direct for loop. You found the number of spaces that you need to print. So that's a variable. So you just run a for loop from j equals 1, j less than equal to n. Since you have used I outside, so you will use j inside. Simple. Any other doubts, guys? See, the only logic was to figure out this thing. If you are able to figure out this thing, then the question is quite simple. The only main thing was to figure out this thing, and this was the trickier part. I understand that sometimes you face issues. See, in I, J, K, whatever you want to define, you can define. Just don't use this variable inside this. If you're defining IJ here, never use IJ inside the for loop. Otherwise, the variable will get complex. See, the mention 3 in line because we have hashes 1. We know spaces with hashes is what? 4. So we have hashes 1. So we transfer it here. So n minus 1, that is 4 minus 1 equals to 3. Line 20 because that is the inference from here, guys. Come on here. In line 1, how many hashes are there? See, each and everything cannot be taught in class. Coding can be done in one's different manner. For loop inside for loop is no hypothetical situation. It's the same thing that you do for the for loop. It's just that you want to operate each of the n times, so you do another for loop inside that. That's what the nested for loop is. No, there's no another way to do it. You have to use strings, and strings you haven't been taught yet, so you cannot do it that way. The only thing you're taught right now is for loop, so that's why I have only showed the for loop. Any other doubts? What's the doubt in line 29, guys? See, one space, three spaces, that's the first line executed. The hashes get increased. So the hashes now become, because that's the formula we created here. That's why I asked you to start this formula clear. I'm not doing while loop again, guys. I've explained what this the difference between for loop and while loop. So please don't waste time. Your questions won't be covered. We have limited classes. We need to cover more questions. Anything else? Yeah, you can do that. Whatever variables you have initialized inside for loop, they can be used inside for loop only. Personal codes won't be entertained, guys. If you have doubts in your personal codes, you can go ahead and ask it in the doubt session. See, teaching speed will vary depending on the topic. See, if a topic is on a tougher side, the teaching speed will be slow. If the topic is somewhere related to old topics, then we won't be wasting much time. Because the point of the course is we want you to get placed within 6 months itself. So the more slow we go, the far your placement is. That's why you also need to work hard. We'll also work hard in a similar manner. The more you practice, the better you will be at DSA. That's the only key to DSA. I can tell you so that if you want to get a placement in a good SD job, the only way out is learn DSA, practice it hardcore. I'm not asking you to solve all the hard questions. It's never like that. But start from easy, practice more. Once you start practicing, you'll realize what are the coding things. Because that's how they judge. Are you able to solve the problems? And all your WebD and everything uses DSA. They might not use the advanced DSA, but they'll use the medium DSA in everyday life. So they expect you to learn that. Personal codes, please join the route session from 4 to 7 and 11 to 12. Right after class, you can join the route session. The mentor will be more than happy to help you out. Okay, I don't see any other doubts. So let's move on to the next problem. We'll try and cover at least one problem from groups here. Arrays and okay. So moving on. They won't be related to these questions. Similar kind of logics will be asked to you. This question doesn't require arrays. Don't worry. Don't worry, guys. This question doesn't involve arrays. That's why I'm solving it. Each question has multiple ways to solve. Understand this point. This question might require arrays, but there is a way which you can solve it without array. And it is a pretty straightforward way. Okay. So given an array of integers, calculate the ratio of its element that are positive, negative, and zero. Print the decimal value of each fraction on a new line. Okay. Now the input is slightly different in this. The first line contains an integer n, the size of the array. That means you will be given n integers. That means first input is basically number of integers you need to take as input. The second line contains n space integers of the array. So total integers that you have to take as input is going to be n plus 1. Okay. So yeah, moving on. So basically what we need to count is you are given n integers, and in those n integers, you need to count the number of integers that are positive, the number of integers that are negative, the number of integers that are zero. This is what we need to do. Okay. So that is pretty straightforward, I suppose, because if an integer is less than zero, then means we need to add one in negative. If it is zero, then we need to add one in positive. If it is greater than zero, then we need to add one in positive. Okay, clear till here? All right, so let's take the input first. Okay, so the question says you will be given n integers. In those integers, you need to count the number of you need to give the proportion of integers that are positive, negative, and zero. So by proportion, what they mean? Basically, we need to count the number of integers that are positive, number of integers that are negative, and number of integers that are zero. So it's like, how did we take three integers in three sides of triangle, right? We just took sc dot x next to sc dot next to. That's the way we'll take it here also. So there's no big difference in this, nothing hypothetical. We did it for three, so we'll just use a for loop here. Okay, so let's initialize. See, use double in Java. That's the reason they are given you. You need to use double. So that's why we use double for the first time now. Double positive, that is equal to 0.0. Initially, we have 0 positive, 0 negative, and 0 integers. So yes. And double 0 equals 0.0. Okay. Now we just do a for loop. Since we will be given n integers, so we are iterating it n times. Let's take a temporary variable where we will be taking input. Double is the data type. Data types we have taught before. We have gone through this before. Don't ask this again. Integer double is for fractions. Integer is for basically 1 to 3. Doesn't matter, but yeah. Yeah, you can do that zero also. The nicer way to initial double is 0.0. This is not function. Function is different. You can use float also, but the question asks to use double in Java. That's why we are using double in Java. When the question asks you something, you have to do it that way only. I got it. Is there anything that is initialized new? Is there any array used here? No, right? Because array is not used here, array is not needed in this problem. Understand? If temp is greater than 0, then we just do a positive equals positive plus 1. We have got the integer. Now we just need to add it to the correct variable. Else, if temp is less than 0, that means negative equals negative plus 1. Else, it is going to be 0 equals 0 plus 1. That's it. Line 13 is basically taking n inputs. We need to take n integers as input. So we'll be taking n integers as an input only. Okay. I think we should need to put this to a hold. All right. Let's do one thing. If you're not taught arrays yet, let's put this to hold. We'll take up it in tomorrow's lecture. I'll wait for the Ritik to take it. Okay. Yeah. So that's pretty much it from my side. You guys have a 10 minutes break. So yeah. Chan, don't worry, we'll take that problem as well. No need to worry. We have, you can see there is each thing is defined for that. Each there is a day for defined for that. And if needed, we'll take an extra day. So don't worry.
Hello everyone, good evening. Okay, okay, let's take a 3 minutes break. We can start at sharp 9:05. Okay. Okay. Hello, good evening everyone. Okay, sorry, I did not realize that you were already on break. So, okay, I guess 17th July there was, I guess somehow the class got ended and then we restarted the session. So that's why I think that recording is missing. Only one recording might have been uploaded. So I'll check with that today. Okay, I'll ensure that the second recording also gets uploaded. Okay. Okay, so we have two more classes remaining. One is today and then we have one more tomorrow. And we have two concepts to cover, arrays and functions. Okay. So both are very easy जो भी हमने अभी तक पढ़ा है उस in comparison to that whatever we have learned till now, so it is very easy. ठीक है. Okay. Well, let me just check once if there is anything else. No, there is no more things. Only two parts are remaining: arrays and function. Okay. So what we'll do is today I'll try to cover up these two topics. Okay. And then basically tomorrow we can spend time on discussing the questions. We can spend time on solving some questions so that you can also be better prepared for your initial screening. Okay. Yes, I got it 17th July. There is one recording missing. I'll ensure that it gets uploaded. Okay. Okay, let me just do it right away. Okay, I have sent that. So you'll receive the second recording by today itself. Okay. Teaching inside once. Okay. Yeah, I'll recap loops today at the end of the class. I'll recap loops because loops is the only one thing that you have to be we have to practice before the initial screening, right? Apart from that, rest all topics are very easy. Right? If else is very easy. If else is just checking something like if or else, and okay, and apart from if else, loops is the only thing. Arrays is also very easy, right? In okay, one thing, there are some difficult questions in arrays that you might see in online terminals right now. Okay, so you will not get questions of that difficulty level, because in arrays there can be questions of easy, there can be questions which are of medium difficulty, and then there can be questions of very high difficulty. Okay, for the initial screening you will not get very high difficulty question. Okay, so don't panic on that part. Nested loops, I'll explain. Take a nested loops, we'll do some questions. Well, the question will from the assignments, there may be the questions may match from the assignment questions with slight variations in some questions. Okay, let's start. Okay, whatever doubts you have, I'll take up your doubts. Let's quickly start on this. So I'm not starting with loops. I'm not starting with any revision. I'll directly start with arrays and functions. Once we are done with this, once we complete this, then I'll go back again to loop and explain this. Again, arrays, while we will learn arrays, we'll also learn somewhat about of loops. Okay. Today's sound is clear. Okay, I'm very pleased that this thing got sorted out. Okay. Okay, so okay, so let's start with this code. So what all did we see till now, right? So let me just point that out. So we saw data types, we saw variables. Let me just quickly write all those things, and then I'll start with today. We saw data types, we saw variables, we saw if else, and then we saw loops. In loops, we saw three kind of loops: for, while, and do while. Okay, these were the three loops that we saw. Okay, one thing happened, and I'm extremely sorry for this. So whatever I wrote, whatever comments I wrote in this screen yesterday while we were discussing loops like while loop and do while loop, somehow that got closed before me saving that file, and I lost it completely. So if anyone can help me out on this, what you can do is just while you are watching the recording, whenever you watch, that whoever is watching, just take a screenshot of whatever I'm writing, whatever is like it is clearly visible in the screen, just see that part is clearly visible, and paste all those screenshots in your Discord groups, right? Whichever groups you use for communication, so that others can get in case you just want to have that notes. Okay. So that is there in the video, but I don't have that text that you receive in your Discord. Okay. At the last, I'll anyways cover all the topics. Okay, all the topics I'll revise at the end, so that is for sure. Okay, so let's move to the next part, right? Okay, so the first thing we saw that we can declare data types, we can write variables, and then we saw if we can write if else statement, right? If there is something, if this condition is true, do this work, otherwise do that work, right? Next concept of loops was if there is something which I want to do again and again, if there is anything if which I want to do again and again, then I can use loops. Now there were three ways to write these loops: for loop, while loop, and do while loop, right? Three ways to basically run any particular line of code again and again. If I want to run that 10 times, 50 times, 100 times, or how many times I want, I can run it using loops. Okay. Okay, so this is the basic thing. Now, what is arrays, right? Today's topic of discussion is arrays. So our data types are good, but one thing is there is a problem with all of our fundamental data types or primitive data types. Whatever data types we learned till now, these are known as primitive or fundamental data types. Primitive, I've written this in the starting as well, but mentioning it again. Primitive or fundamental data types. Okay. Now, why these are known as primitive or fundamental data types? क्यों बोलते हैं इनको? Because this come as the part of the language, and these are the basic operations. For example, if let's say I tell you to understand English, so you'll start with learning the alphabets, right? And these are like the alphabets of the data types. Data types के alphabets हैं, right? These are like the alphabets of the data types, right? However we store data, these are the alphabets of these types, right? So we have integer, we have character, we have float, right? We have double, we have long, right? Yeah. We have strings, right? String is not fundamental. Okay. So these are the characters of, these are the alphabets of our data types wala language, right? Now we may want to store something like a list of characters, which is a word or a sentence. So we use something like string. We use something like string, which is a list of characters or words. List of characters or list of words. So we call them string. Basically, a combination of characters. So character can store only one character. Character can store only one character like A, and string can store a list of characters, right? So it can store any list of characters like hello world, right? Okay. Now, so this works fine. So strings can store a list of characters, and character can only store a single character. Okay. Integer can store a number, float can store a number, double can store a number. But if I want to store a list of numbers, अगर मुझे list of numbers store करने हैं तो क्या करेंगे? So if I want to store a list of numbers or list of anything, list of numbers, list of floats, list of doubles, list of long, and even list of characters, right? So I can use arrays. So arrays simply store lists of anything. Okay, whatever, if I want to store list of anything, I can store it in an array. Let's say I want to store 10 numbers, 100 numbers, or 1000 numbers. I can store it in an array. Okay. If I want to store 10 or 1000 different float numbers, I can store it in an array. Okay. So this is what array is. Array is basically a list of numbers or anything that can store a list. Okay. What is the definition of array? Array is something. Okay. Arrays is a data type which stores a list of any fundamental data type. Okay. List of anything means, let me write it as list of any fundamental data type. Okay. Okay. So, what is meant by fundamental or primitive data types? ठीक है. So whatever data types we learned till now, apart from string को छोड़ के जो भी data type हमने देखा, whatever data type we saw till now apart from strings, those all data types are known as fundamental or primitive data type. ठीक है. Both of them mean the same thing, fundamental or primitive. Both of them mean the same thing. Why we call them fundamental or primitive data type? Because These are the alphabets in the data types, right? Alphabets of the data type. For example, whenever we learn English language, we learn the alphabets and then we learn the words. Okay? So these are the alphabets that we learn for in order to learn the higher versions of these data types, right? Why not string? Why is string not? Acha, now tell me why string is not a fundamental data type. Why string is does not categorize? Because string is not a single unit. String is a combination of character, and character we have as a fundamental data type. In apart from string, you will not observe any other data type in this list. Even boolean as well. Boolean is also a fundamental data type, right? So even boolean as well. So no data type is comprised of any other data type. No data type can be created from any other data type. For example, you cannot create integer from any other thing. Integer can store numbers and there is no number kind of data type. Right? So integer is the basic unit. Right? There is for float or double, these are the basic units for storing decimal numbers. Right? Only for the range differs. Same goes for integer and long. If this can store small numbers, this can store large numbers. But there is nothing which can make this thing. But characters can make string, right? Character को हम ऐड करके string बना सकते हैं, right? So that why string is not a fundamental data type. String is these are known as derived data types. So what are derived data types? Derived from, कहाँ से derive हुआ होगा? Derived from fundamental data types. कि fundamental data types were the alphabets. Now we used fundamental data types to create other data types. Like we used combination of characters to make string. We used a list of numbers, list of integers to make array. We used a list of floats to make an array. We used a list of doubles to make an array. So that's why it is known as derived data type. Is array not covered? No, we have just started arrays. Okay, so array, this is the very first class. Array is one type of function. No, functions we have not covered. We'll cover functions after array. Can we store two different data type like integer or character or boolean in array? No. Okay, this is a good question. Okay. So now let's come to array. Now what is array? Array can store a list of any fundamental data type, but it cannot store a combination of a list of any one fundamental data type, right? So one array can store only one fundamental data type. Like for example, अगर मैंने integer array create करा, if I have created an integer array, it will only be able to store integer value. It cannot store a character or a float value. अगर मैंने, if I have created a double array, so it can only store double values. It cannot store a long or character, or a boolean. Okay. Let me just directly show you how to create array, and it will become very clear. It is very easy to create arrays. So first we have to write what is the data type for which you want to create the array, right? And then similar to how we give names to variables of this fundamental data type or strings, that we will give the name to an array. Let's say I will call it as A. Then we have to give it, I have to write two square brackets after this. So I will say that this is not a variable of this data type. This is an array. I want to create an array of this data type. That's why I'm writing this two brackets. Okay. And then I'll use the new keyword. Okay, I'll explain today. I'll give you some idea कि new क्यों use करते. For now, just assume that this is the syntax. Okay, yes, syntax. And I want key what is the length of this list that it is going to be. I have to specify that length. So let's say I want to give it the length 10. Okay. So okay. So this is how I declare an array. Okay. So how we will declare variable int a, comma, semicolon, right? So this is how we declared variable. So this is an integer variable a, which can store one single value. If I write it something like this, then it is an integer array a which can store 10 numbers. Okay. What is new? Okay. Abhi ke liye assume ki this is a syntax. Okay. At the end of, like, after when we'll understand somewhat of arrays, I'll give you the ID. Okay. Key new kya karta. For now, let's assume ki this is the syntax that we have to write. Okay. Okay. So integer, simple. I have to specify ki kya data type. What is the data type that I want to create the array. Next is the name of this array. Same how we gave variables to this data types. So we'll give a name. And then we had a square bracket, which is basically telling that this is not a variable of this data type. This is an array. So this square bracket tells that this is a variable of this array. Okay. Next, we are writing that, okay, we want to use this new keyword. So new is a keyword that I told you that in the naming variables, we had a rule, right? We cannot use something like reserved words. Now, what were these reserved words? Something which language has a meaning, right? So this is that word. This is one of those words. Okay? This is one of those words. So new is one such word that Java provides, and we use it to give some space. Okay? Let's say why we use new. Okay, so चलो बता ही देते हैं. Right, let's end this story of new. We have seen new 2-3 times. We are using new in the case of scanner and all those times. So new क्या करता है? So whenever we write new, we are basically telling कि I want some space. Give me some space, right? So whenever I run the code, I'm creating variables. I'm storing this data, right? So I want to tell to this like whatever compiler is running this code, Java is running this code, Java has a compiler. I want to tell it this compiler, give me some space because I want to store some numbers. I have some data to store, right? And that is what this new keyword is doing. New keyword is telling this compiler that give me some space. I want to store 10 integers. I want to store 10 integers and give me that space. Okay. Can we write a string using space? Like yes, we can write. Spaces are allowed in strings. You can use space. You can use any characters or whatever you want in the string. Okay. Okay. So now we created a variable which can store 10 numbers. Earlier our variable was only able to store one number. Now our variable is able to store 10 numbers. Right now, okay, but the name of the variable is still a. How will I access all the 10 numbers? Right. So how do we access? In order to access any one of the numbers, you can write it starts with 0. So the first number is a of 0. We call it as a of, right? And it is written as a square bracket 1. So it is read as a of 0. Okay. So if I say somewhere like a of 0, simply mean that I'm telling a square bracket 0. Is there any limit in the number of integers that we can store in an array? Right. So it varies from compiler to compiler. It varies from compiler to compiler, but it is in this range, 10 to the power 6. Okay. It lies around in this range. It will vary from compiler to compiler on the type of machine that you are running. Okay. So let me write this. Why to erase this and put again. So it is read as a of 0, a of 1, right? So if your array is of 10 size, so your first index will be 0, and what is going to be last index? A of 9. Okay. If your array is of 10 size, your last index is always going to be 1 minus the size of array. Okay. Because your array's indexes are starting with 0. What is index? This index. So these numbers are known as index. Okay. These numbers, a of 0 is the index. A of 1 is the index. Okay. And this is how we can refer to all these values. Okay. All these values that are stored in this variable. Okay. So let's just try to run a loop on this and try to see. Now how to iterate over something which has a list. Same again, we'll use loops. Some work that I have to do again and again, we'll use loops. Simple, right? We'll use loop. Now how our loop is going to run? So loop is going to run from 0 to less than 10. What is 10 to the power 6? So this is the range at which the maximum for which you can create a maximum size of array. Okay. Someone asked what is the maximum size of array we can create. So the maximum size of array we can create is 10 to the power 6. It would vary from different compiler to compiler, but generally it is in this range, 10 to the power 6. If you try to create an array of 10 to the power 7 size, sometimes compiler throws errors in most of the systems. And if it runs in for 10 to the power 7, it may throw error for 10 to the power 8. Right? So this is the safest side. You can create arrays of maximum 10 to the power 6 size. Beyond that, you should not create. Right? Yeah, it may break in some machines. Now there is one question: why the indexing starts with 0? Why the array has a start index of 0? Okay, so this is something which has troubled a lot of programmers, but after learning this, you get acquainted to it so much that you cannot change. Okay, so I can give you a real life example. So the keys in the keyboard are in random order, right? Now we never think of why it is in the random order, why someone has not defined the keyboard in the alphabetical order ABCD, right? Why someone created this in this particular order. So it was created because it was easy to type this in typewriter, because in typewriter there was no backspace button, right? So if you type something, that is written permanently, you cannot erase that. So keeping the keywords in this particular order, keys in this particular order, it was easier. It was less likely that while typing there were errors. Okay, so someone designed the keyboard in this way, and later people got used to it so much that when the computers came into picture, the keywords were still designed in this particular order, and till date no one is able to change it. If there were keyboards, those were designed using ABCD, but we were not able to use it. The same thing goes around here. Since we got so much acquainted with arrays starting with 0 index, few programming languages like R and Octave tried to change it, but programmers did not get used to it. Okay? They always assume that arrays are starting with 0. Okay? So that's why no other programming language starts with 1. All the programming languages start the array with 0. Okay. Okay, can I please explain again why 10 to the power 6? So 10 to the power 6 is the maximum size of array. Let me write it down over here. Maximum size of array. Okay, that we can create. Okay, and don't and I'm right now also telling, please note that this may vary from system to system. Okay, so let me write it down over here. May vary. Okay. So this may vary from system to system. Please don't point me that, sir, you told 10 to the power 6, but I'm able to create an array of 10 to the power 7 size. Okay. So you may be able to create, but this varies from system to system. The number that I'm giving you, that you should not create any array with greater than 10 to the power 6. Okay. Not getting this clearly? Okay. So let me just give some input and show some output, then you will become more clear. Okay. So I've just written a loop which runs from 0 to 10. Okay. Sorry, 0 to 9. Why 0 to 9? Why 0 to 9? Because the array's indexes are from 0 to 9. I have created an array of 10 size. मैंने array 10 size का create करा, right? And then I am running a loop from 0 to 9. Okay. So that I can either you can write I less than 10, or you can write I less than equal to 9. Whatever you are comfortable with, you can pick up. Okay. I less than equal to 9 or I less than 10. Okay. Whatever you are comfortable with. Okay. We cannot declare int inside the loop. I did not say this. This was the very first example that I saw that, right? If we can declare an integer variable inside the loop, if we can declare it, we can declare and initialize it. We can even declare it outside. That I told you, it is not compulsory that you have to declare it over here. You can declare it outside as well. It is compulsory to use new keyword. Yes, it is compulsory to use the new keyword in this array. Okay. Can we use L27 instead of 10? Yeah, you can define the array of whatever length you want. Okay. New you forgot. Okay. So let me write a comment for new as well. New asks the compiler to give memory for array. Okay. Simple. Okay. New, whenever I write new this, so I'm writing new in 10, right? So basically I'm telling the compiler, give me 10 spaces. 10 spaces I want to store integer. Give me 10 spaces for storing integer. And this is what new keyword is doing. Okay. Can I store character in array once? Yes, I can. I'll show you by storing character. Let's just try to store numbers. Then I'll show you storing character and everything. Yeah. Yeah. So someone new allocates memory for the data, right? So that is the terms allocates. Simple. In simple terms, I explained that new ask the compiler, give me this memory. I want to store the array. Okay. So let's just try to give it some value. Let's say we want to give a of I the value. You can now tell me what will happen in this. So what I'm telling, what is a of I? So in the first iteration, when the loop will run for the first time, I is 0. 0 is less than 10. Okay, I will enter the body of the loop. A of 0. I am telling a of 0 is equal to 0. I'll store 0 in a of 0. Okay. A of 0 will store 0. Next time then it will go to updation, it will become 1. 1 is less than 10. Okay, it is also correct. I'll come here. A of 1 is 1. I'm storing a of 1 as 1. Okay. Similarly, I will store a of 2 as 2, a of 3 as 3, and I'm storing 0 to 9 in the array. Right. Let's say I want to run this loop again, the same loop again, similar loop, and I want to print all the values that I stored in this array. Okay, so let's print this. So whenever you want to see all the values or do anything or make any change in the values of the array, only thing you need to do is write a loop from the start location to the end location of the array and then loop through it, right? And now whatever you want to do, you can do it, right? So let's say we want to just print print the values from the array, right? And note I'm printing the values from the array. I'm not printing I, I'm printing a of I, which will print whatever values we have stored in the array. Okay, let's run this. So we see 0 to 9 because we stored 0 to 9 in the array. Okay. Let's say we want to store I plus 10. So what will be stored? So when the first iteration will run, so it will store a of 0, which is at the 0th index, it will store 0 plus 10, which is 10. 10 to 19, right? So it will store 10 to 19, 10, 11, 12, 13, right? If I run this and when I'm printing, it will print 10 to 19, right? Yeah. Okay. Once again, so basically 3 steps we did. Right? First step is we created an array. We just told that we want to create a variable, right? But this variable will not just store one number. वो एक number store नहीं करेगा. It will store a list of numbers. It will वो एक list of numbers store करेगा. ठीक है? Next, what we did, we tried to store this list of numbers in this array. ठीक है? जो भी हमने array बनाया उसमें एक list of number डालने की कोशिश की. Right? Now, how will we put a list of number in this array? We'll loop through. We'll write a loop. Whatever is the length of the array, we'll write a loop. Starting from 0 and we'll go to the last index. Last index is always going to be 1 less than the length. Okay, the length is 10, so the last index will be 9. So that's why I've written I less than 10. Right? You can write it as I less than 10 or I less than equals to 9. Whatever you are comfortable with, both means the same thing. Right? I less than 10 or I less than equals to 9, both mean the same thing. Okay? So whichever you feel comfortable, you can write it. Okay? And then I'm incrementing it. So inside this loop, I'm writing a of I. I'm incrementing it. I'm giving some value to it. Right? So a of 0, I'm giving 0 plus 10, which is 10. Next time loop will run, I'll give a of 1 the value 11. Right? Because I value is 1, 1 plus 10 will be 11. Okay. Or again, let's say I want to write some separate logic. If I write I into 2, what it will become? 0 into 2 is 0. So a of 0 will store 0. Okay. One, the I value will be 1, 1 into 2 it will store 2. When I value will be 2, it will store 4, right? Okay. So now here I'm storing values in the variable, right? So whatever variable I created, it will take some space, right? So variable मैंने create करा, whatever variable I created, it asks some space in memory. Now instead of one variable, it is taking the spaces of 10 variables, right? It has such 10 spaces, right? 10 boxes or 10 empty bags, whatever you call it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. We have 10 empty blocks, and these 10 empty blocks are storing these values. So when I run this program, what happens is the first loop is just storing these values in these blocks. Okay. So when the first loop runs, so let's say this is the loop. So I value is 0, 0 into 2 is 0, 1 into 2 is 2, 2 into 2 is 4, 3 into 2 is 6. Indexes are 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? 4 to 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Right? So this is how I store the values now. Right? You write whatever logic you want to write, we can write over here. That will store the values. Okay. Next, what I want is I want to display these values. I want to display these values in this console. Right? So in order to display these values in the console, I am writing a println statement. What does println do? Whatever I want to display in the console, it will display. So here I am just giving values to the variables. Here I am displaying it in the console. Okay. Okay. So that's why I'm writing loop 2 times. First time I'm storing. So this is storing values. And this is displaying. I look twice for the answer. First one is storing these values. This is the variable. So whenever we declared variable, let's say int a, हमने declare करा था, right? So we used to write a equals to 5, or we used to write int a equals to 5. So we used to give this value 5 to a, right? We used to give this value. but here we have 10 values and we did not give any values to this, right? Can we write print statement in the first loop? Yes, we can. So if you want, we can write the print statement in the first loop as well. Okay. So let me just move this. Yeah. So if what will happen if I write this print statement in the first loop? Nothing. Simple. I have given it value, it will still work. Let's say I can even write the print statement in the first loop, it would still work. Why? Because this will assign the value and this will then print it. As soon as the value gets assigned, it will print it after this. So it will also work. So our code always runs in that line by line manner, right? So just follow that thing and it will also print the same thing. Yes, we can do the task in one. Okay, Darren, what the idea? What is happening? Okay. Yes. Okay, I'll answer your questions like how can we take size from user, how can we take input from user, all those things. But when we got the initial idea of loops, simple, right? Basically, initial idea of arrays. So basically, in variable we were storing only one value. जो variable होता था वो एक value store करता था. जो array होगा वो एक list of value store करेगा. Okay. So since this array, let me tell it in हिंदी. चलो हिंदी में बता देते हैं. जो वेरिएबल होता था वो एक वैल्यू स्टोर कर रहा था, जो एरे है वो लिस्ट ऑफ वैल्यू स्टोर करेगा. अब वो क्योंकि एक लिस्ट स्टोर कर रहा है, राइट, अगर हमें लिस्ट के किसी भी आइटम के साथ इंटरेक्ट करना है, लिस्ट के किसी भी आइटम को चेंज करना है, लिस्ट के किसी भी आइटम को डिस्प्ले करना है, तो हम कैसे करेंगे? उसको बताएंगे कि हमें कौन सा आइटम चाहिए लिस्ट में से. लिस्ट का पहला आइटम चाहिए तो उसको बताएंगे ए ऑफ 0 चाहिए. लिस्ट का सेकंड आइटम चाहिए तो हम उसे बताएंगे ए ऑफ 1 चाहिए. लिस्ट का थर्ड आइटम चाहिए तो हम उसे बताएंगे ए ऑफ 2 चाहिए, राइट. तो हम उसे बताएंगे हमें कौन सा आइटम चाहिए इस लिस्ट में से. अब अकॉर्डिंगली उस लिस्ट आइटम पे क्या करना है, उस लिस्ट आइटम को पे कोई वैल्यू रखना है, राइट, या फिर उस लिस्ट आइटम को डिस्प्ले करना है. जो भी हम ऑपरेशन चाहेंगे वो कर सकते हैं लिस्ट आइटम. अब क्योंकि ये लिस्ट है, अब हर एक बार मुझे, अगर मैंने 10 आइटम का लिस्ट बनाया, मैं सेम ऑपरेशन बार बार लिखूंगा क्या? मैं अगर मुझे 10 आइटम को पे वैल्यू रखना और मुझे वो डिस्प्ले करना है, तो क्या मैं ऐसे लिखूंगा ए ऑफ 0 इज इक्वल्स टू समथिंग और उसको फिर डिस्प्ले करूंगा? नहीं करूंगा, ऑब्वियसली आई विल नॉट डू दिस वे. सो व्हाट आई विल डू इज इंस्टेड कि मैं एक लूप लिखूंगा. सेम चीज मुझे बार बार करनी है, मैं लूप लिख दूंगा. Arrays count, array start index always starts with 0. ठीक है, so this is something that you have to keep in mind. ठीक है, this clear initial idea of array giving values to array, printing it. So explain in Hindi as well. It should be clear to everyone. Yes, no, yes. Can we store different values? Yes, you can store however way you want, like whatever value you want, you can store here, right? So display array is simple, right? In system.out.println, just write a of whatever value you want to display, right? Whatever array's index value you want to display. I have commented these lines for now. Change this value from 10 to something. Yeah. So let's change this value array change from 10 to 5. So we can change this value from array from 10 to 5. Right? We just need to change it over here. Done. We don't need to change anything. Now the array is storing only 5 values. Okay. Whatever value you want, you can assign over here. So let's say we don't want to assign over here. We are just writing to display this. Okay. Let's say we want to give this 5 different values. So you can give it. Let's say I want to give a value 100. I want to give a value a of 1 as 89. I want to give a of 2 as, let's say, 70. Whatever value I want. Right? A of 3 as. So basically, it's a list of integers. Right? It can store any number, right? Any integer number that you want. Right? So if I run it, it will display all these values, whatever values I gave it. Right? I gave these values to this array indices, and I'm referring a of 0. So a of 0 is 100. A of 1 is 89, A of 2 is this, A of 3 is this, A of 4 is this, A of 5 is this. So basically assume that you are creating 10 different variables and or 5 different variables, and you are able to just refer them by using a single variable. Okay? Let's try to complicate this, right? A of nt means it has 10, right? A of nt, this new int 10, new int 5 means it has this many number of variables. Okay? instead of this, chalo, let's try to do it somewhat. Let's try to do all these questions of that you are trying to ask. Okay. Now, can we take these values from the user? Yes, we can. Okay, let's try to use scanner. Right, our Brahmastra is scanner that we'll use to take inputs from user. So let's first specify that I want to use scanner. Import java dot util dot scanner. Okay, simple. Next, what I want to do is over here. Let's try to do scanner sc is equals to new scanner system dot in. Then I can use this scanner to take inputs. Okay, I can use this scanner to take input. Let's try to take this array as input from the user. So let's try to run a loop. I equals to 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. Okay. Okay, note one thing. I am redeclaring I, right? You can see I'm using I again and again. So if you are declaring something inside the loop, you can use it only inside the loop. You cannot use it outside the loop, right? So that's why this I has no value outside the loop, right? So that's why I can recreate this I inside this loop. But this I was, if this I was a global variable, अगर यहाँ पे ये बाहर में declare होके रहता, so I could not create this. Okay, so this would throw errors. So, if I try to do this, okay. So if it is inside this loop, I can do it as many times as I want. Okay. So let's then try to give it some value by the user, right? So I want a of I to get value from user next int. Simple. So I'm basically asking the user to give me the value of a of 0, a of 1, a of 2, a of 3, a of 4. Okay. Why not 5? Is int I is different? Both, yes, both int I is different. This int I has only value inside this loop, and this int I has a value only inside this loop. Because these two are two different loops. Those two int I's are two different variables. Okay. Instead of I will come to n. Let's try to firstly give input by user. Right. Now I want to give inputs by the user. I want to give some value to this array by user. Okay. So let's give one value 34, 67, 56, 23, 11. Okay. So I gave it 5 values. Now see, it is just printing these 5 values. So these are the 5 values that I gave, and the second loop is printing these 5 values, whatever I gave to this array. Okay. So this is how you can take input from the user. If you want to take input, अगर user से input लेना है array में, so sc.nextInt, we can use sc.nextInt to give values, right? If we declare the same variable name 2 times, the system shows errors, right? For example, let's say, okay, this is one thing that I want to clarify, and this is something you should understand, right? So for example, if I declare int b and I again declare int b, right? If I run this program, you will see that I'll see error. Variable b is already defined in the method name. It is showing me that you already defined variable, and you are again trying to give me this variable. In which line this is throwing this error? Line number 25, right? So this is, you should now learn to read what is the error. Okay, error कैसे पढ़ते हैं? So error most of the time you may not be able to understand. ये समझ नहीं भी आ सकता है error जो लिखा हुआ है यहाँ पे. ठीक है? So only thing that we can understand is in which line I am getting the error. That is for sure. I'm getting the error in line number 25. It is telling me in line number 25 till line number 24 the program ran fine, but at line number 25 it is telling me you have already declared a variable b. You cannot declare it again. Okay, you already have a variable with name b. You already have a person with the name b. You cannot give another person the same name. That is not allowed. Okay. But why it is not giving me error inside this loop? I declared int I over here and I declared int I over here, because this int I is only valid for this loop. Okay, just look at this. So if I write in system.out.println I, if I write I outside the loop, but it will tell me, you know what, I don't know any I. It is telling me I cannot find a symbol at line number 28. I have declared I 2 places, but it is telling I'm not able to find. Why? Because if I declare something inside the loop, right? अगर loop के initialization में मैंने int I लिखा है, if I have written int I in the initialization part of the loop, so that variable is only existent for the loop. वो loop के लिए ही exist करता है, loop के बाहर कभी exist नहीं करेगा, right? And that is the reason I am able to write int I 2 times. right? I'm able to write here and here as well, because this I only lives for this small period of time. After this loop is done, there is no I. Program does not know any I. You can see it is telling me I don't know any I, right? Can we name B and capital B as two different variables? Yes, small b and capital B are two different variables. That you can do because it is case sensitive. That's two different variables. When you give random array value at the same time, you do follow, but follow is not print. I did not get the question, Dishan. Can we declare two variables in a loop? Yes, we can declare. Okay, okay, this is a good question. So if you see something like this, let me break this. So if you see something like this is also allowed. Okay, I equals to 0, j equals to 0. If you want to do to give two variables inside a loop, you can do this. You can use whatever way you want, right? It will not throw any errors. It is not throwing any errors. You can run this program, you can give inputs, you can see the outputs. See, it is working fine. So you want to give multiple variables, you can separate them by comma and you can give multiple variables. Can we give two conditions? Yes, you can. The place is same, but you have to use like logical operators like and or to use करके we can concatenate these conditions, right? उसको जोड़ सकते, right? If we want to add multiple condition, we can add and, or we can add or, and whatever condition we want. Can we initialize the array like in 5? No, that is not there. That is not there. You have to write it new int 5. Okay. Okay. And I'll explain in detail if we get time of why we write new. For now, just assume key, since I don't want a single variable, right? I want to create a lot of space in memory. I want to use a lot of space. I can use 10, 20, 100 or 1000. I can use variable spaces of 1000 integers, right? So I'll have to tell it key I want to use it. I will ask for the permission for the compiler key, will you allow me to use it? And that's why I'm writing this. Okay. So I'm just asking the compiler, will you allow me to use this large size of array? Will you allow me to create this? Is new related to oops? Yes, it is related to oops. Is line 25 taking inputs? Yes, line number 25 is taking the inputs. Array work on the print value. Yeah, array prints in the second array, just prints the value that the user gives us. Okay, clear, simple. In the outer part it is not working, but in between a of I is working, because I has no meaning outside this loop, right? I just showed you if I print I outside the loop, it has no meaning. It will just throw error that I do not know any I only exists inside the loop, right? So that's why this array is getting printed inside the loop. If you have to print outside the loop, you have to write a of 0, a of 1. You have to specify which particular array's value, first value, second value, third value, fourth value, which particular array's value you have to print, right? Let me just give a space in between this input and output so that you can see clearly what is the input that we are giving and what is the output, right? Let's run this program again. Okay. Let's try to give it inputs 45, 67, 21, 78, 43. These are the 5 inputs. Now see, so these were the 5 inputs that I gave, right? And the same order it is getting displayed because I'm displaying it by fetching it from the array. I'm using this array to get this value and then display it. Well, let's store the final. Now, one more thing. Is this value, whatever I'm storing in the array is final? Can I change it? Yes, you can change it. Right? If you want to change any array's value, let's say of 0, you want to change it to any value, you can change it. Right? So just like how you use variable, just like how we use variable, right? We just assign a value to a variable. We change it as many times as we like. We want, or however way we want, we can change it. Okay. Now one more thing, is this 5 or 10, that is the size that we have to specify? Is this something which we have to always write, or we can ask this from the user as well? We can ask this as well from the user. Let's say we'll ask the user the size. Okay, next thing, I'll ask the user, give me the size of the array first. Okay, let me just print this as well. System.out.println. Enter a size of array. Okay, it will give me a number, and then I will say that create this array of this n size. Whatever number user gives me, create the array of that particular size. Okay, and then run this loop for that size, and run the second loop as well for that size. Okay. And for the next time running this loop, just to take the input of that particular numbers, that of that many numbers which the user told me, and then we are just trying to display it. Right? So if the user tells me the size is n, I will create an array of size n. I will take inputs of array of size n, and I'll display array of size n. Okay. Can we write sc.i before the loop? You can write it outside the loop as well, but whatever operation you want to do with array, take it now everyone, since I'm getting a lot of doubts on this, just note one thing. If you want to do any operation on array outside the loop, okay, outside the loop, if you want to do any operation on array outside the loop, you have to use it something like a of 0 or a of 1. You have to tell which particular number, which particular place you want to update, right? Inside the loop, I'm just using I, because I've already told that I want to run the loop from 0 to n. I'm already telling that this is the I start with 0, go till n, right? Start with 0, go till whatever is your length, whatever is the length of the array, go till there, right? And do whatever operation we are doing. Okay. और अगर if I have to interact with the array outside the loop, अगर array को loop के बाहर access करना है, so I have to tell which index, किस value को update करना है, right? Array में तो बहुत सारे values होंगे. Array will have a list of values. ठीक है? तो उस list of values में से किस value को update करना है? In that list of values, let's say this is the list of values. This array has 5 numbers. So 2, 8, 10, 9, 4. Okay, these are the 5 numbers this array has. So if I am inside the loop, if I write a of 5, so will have some value. I will have some value when I run this loop. I am inside the loop. So it will mean a of 0, a of 1, something it will mean, right? But when I am outside the loop, this is inside the loop. When I am inside the loop. But when I am outside the loop, I have to manually tell ki update a of 0 or update a of 1. Then I cannot write a of I, because I has no meaning outside the loop. Okay. Line number 30. What is line number 30? Line number 30 is just iterating through this array, right? Line number 30 is just writing this loop of whatever is the length of the array. So we start with 0, right? We start with 0. If I have looped through the entire array, I'll start with 0, that this is the start location. I have to go till the length of the array. Difference between line number 25 and 31. 25 and 31. Yeah. So in line number 25, I'm just telling that create a variable, right? Create a variable. I'm not given it any value. I did not give it any value. For example, if I write, let's say, int a, so I'm just declaring a variable. I'm not given this variable any value. Whenever I write a is equals to 5 or a is equals to 10, then I'm giving it value, right? So this is the same thing. Here I'm just telling I create a variable a, and I'm not giving it any value right now. I'm just telling just declare it, right? So we learned about declaration and initialization. These were the two terms that I told. Declaration and initialization. So declaration means telling that create this variable. Initialization means create this variable actually, right? Like initialization means assign this value in this variable. Declaration means I'm just telling this create this variable. It will create a variable. Initialization, I am telling assign this value, write this value in the variable because I may use it. Okay. Clear? So let's try to do few things on this array. It will become more clearer. Okay. Let's try to run this. Let's try to give it a number. Let's try to enter a few numbers. ठीक है. So firstly it asking me enter a size of array. So let's give it size as 3 because we want to enter 3 numbers, and it will ask me 3 numbers. So firstly it ran this, I gave it n3, it created an array of size 3, and then I'm trying it to give 3 numbers, right? 3 numbers, let me give it 21, 34, 56. Right? So and then when I'm displaying this array, it is displaying this 3 numbers. Okay. अच्छा चलो हिंदी में एक बार समझाते हैं. लेट्स डू इट वंस इन हिंदी. सो एरे क्या है? एरे बेसिकली एक लिस्ट है, ठीक है. अब उस लिस्ट में हमने बता दिया, मान लो एक मैं लिस्ट बना रहा हूँ, तो लिस्ट को एक्सेस करने का कोई तो तरीका होगा. अब लिस्ट को एक्सेस करना है तो हमने एक ही वेरिएबल बनाया है. वेरिएबल तो एक ही है, जैसे हम वेरिएबल को रेफर करते थे तो एक ही नाम होता था उसका, एक ही वेरिएबल होता था. अब एरे में जब हमने बनाया, वेरिएबल नाम तो एक ही है, एक ही है, बट हमें इसके पास 10 12 नंबर 15 नंबर 100 नंबर भी हो सकता है. अब ये 100 नंबर स्टोर करके रखा है एरे, तो हम एक्सेस कैसे करेंगे उस 100 नंबर को? वेरिएबल तो एक ही है, तो हम एक्सेस ऐसे करते हैं, उसको बोलते हैं कि मुझे पहला नंबर दो ए ऑफ 0, और सेकंड नंबर चाहिए ए ऑफ 1, और थर्ड नंबर चाहिए ए ऑफ 2, ए ऑफ 3. ऐसे हम उसको बोलते हैं कौन सा नंबर चाहिए, ठीक है. तो अगर हमें लूप के बाहर कहीं भी एक्सेस करना है तो हम ए ऑफ जो भी नंबर चाहिए, पहला नंबर चाहिए 0 लिख देंगे, सेकंड नंबर चाहिए ए ऑफ 1 लिख देंगे, जो भी नंबर चाहिए वो लिख देंगे, ठीक है. और मान लो अगर मुझे सारे नंबर्स को एक्सेस करना है, सारे नंबर्स को एक्सेस करना है, तो मैं बार बार क्यों लिखूंगा ए ऑफ 0 पे ये अपडेट करो, ए ऑफ 1 पे ये अपडेट करो, ए ऑफ 2 पे ये वैल्यू डाल दो, राइट. हम क्यों लिखे ऐसे? सो हम एक लूप लगा देंगे. हमारे पास तो लॉजिक है, हमारे पास तो पता है कि अगर कोई भी चीज बार बार करनी है तो लूप लगा सकते हैं. हमने लूप लगा दिया. अब लूप चलाएंगे कहाँ से? एरे के स्टार्ट से एरे से एंड तक. स्टार्ट 0 से होता है, एंड कहाँ तक होता है? जो भी एरे का साइज है उससे एक कम पे लास्ट इंडेक्स होगा, राइट. तो या तो इसको हम लेस देन एन लिख देंगे या फिर लेस देन इक्वल टू एन माइनस 1, जो भी इजी लग रहा है, ठीक है. नेक्स्ट हम इंक्रीमेंट करेंगे बाई 1, नेक्स्ट नंबर को बाई 1, नेक्स्ट इंडेक्स पे नेक्स्ट नंबर ए ऑफ 1 है तो ए 1 से इंक्रीज करेंगे. इनसाइड दिस हमें जो भी करना है हम कर सकते हैं. हमें डिस्प्ले करना है तो हमने प्रिंट कर दिया यहाँ पे प्रिंट एलन ए ऑफ आई. अगर हमको इसका वैल्यू अपडेट करना है तो ए ऑफ आई पे हम जो भी वैल्यू चाहे रख सकते हैं. पहले हमने यहाँ पे मैनुअली खुद वैल्यू रख दिया, फिर हमने यूजर से इनपुट मांगा sc.next करके कि वैल्यू बता दो हमें, हम वो वैल्यू रख देंगे यहाँ पे. Why should we give 3 numbers in input? क्योंकि हमने एरे का साइज 3 बताया था ना. यहाँ पे एरे का साइज 3 है, जितना साइज है उतना ही इनपुट लेगा. यहाँ पे लूप 0 to less than 3 चलेगा. लूप 3 बार चल रहा है, 3 इनपुट ही एंटर करना है. ओके, क्लियर एवरीवन? चलो बेसिक आइडिया लग गया. इवन इफ यू गॉट, चलो 50%, हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू अंडरस्टूड 50% ऑफ एरेज? 50% और अबव इट, ठीक है. आई विल डू दैट रैंडम इंडेक्स वी कैन डू, ठीक है. फुल या 50 प्लस, ठीक है. 45%, ठीक है. If you are getting 40-50% in the first go, right, अगर हम कुछ चीज भी पढ़ रहे हैं, if you are able to understand 40-50% of it in the class right away, तो इससे बेटर क्या होगा, right? और 100% तो right gradually होता है, right? 100% तो I cannot also कि मुझे भी आ रहा है 100% आ, ठीक है. clear? चलो, okay, let's move to the next part. So we learned कि how we want to put values in array, if you want to put if you want to display the values of array, right. Now let's try to do something, कुछ करते हैं on this array so that we can understand it better, okay. Let's try to do a few easy questions on arrays, okay. What can be a question on array? So let me just erase all of this. Let me just comment everything. Let me comment this as this. Only thing I'm leaving it is scanner, okay, because we'll need scanner to take input. So let's move this to, also let's not move that. Let's keep the scanner there. Okay. So I have a scanner taken at the top of the file. Just everything I have commented out. Okay. Line number 24 पे क्या है? 24 पे okay, new क्या करता है? New basically asks, new keyword का मतलब क्या है? New basically asks the compiler to give memory. I want to create an array, so I will ask the compiler give me memory. ठीक है. 34 34 is just printing a space, right? 34 was printing a space. So I basically wanted to show you that this is the input that I'm giving and this is the output. ये जो space आ रहा है in between, that is line number 34 is printed. So I gave the inputs. After that, I just printed a space and then I gave the outputs. No. Array notation is not related. Yeah, can we use? Yes, you can use system dot out dot print. A of n, not A of I. N is the size, right? Why 3 not printed? So 3 is the size, right? 3 is the size. 3 value was not given in array. 3 value was stored in this variable n. 3 का value n में store हुआ था. So when I'm printing the array, not ठीक है. चलो, let's do a few quick questions. So let's say one question is we want to do. Let's say we want to store. Let's say we want to store the table of 8 till 1000. Okay. Store table of 8 till 1000. Okay. So what we'll do? We'll create an array. And what is the size? Size क्या होगा everyone? Think size क्या होगा? What will be the size? I have to store. What is n? अच्छा, till 1000 means कि 1000 terms तक, right? 1000 terms तक 8 into 1, 8 into 2, 8 into 3, 8 into 1000 तक जाना है मुझे. ठीक है. ये रैंडम नंबर्स क्यों आ रहे हैं? मुझे 1000 तक जाना है, राइट? 8 का टेबल स्टोर करना है 1000 तक. मुझे 8 into 1, 8 into 2, 8 into 3, 8 into 4, 8 into 1000 I have to go, right? This is the thing that I have to find. 8 into 2 and so on till 8 into 1000. I have to do this. Now think 1000, right? 1000 ही होगा. Array का size तो 1000 ही होगा. Size is the how many numbers it stores. It stores 1000 numbers. So size is 1000. Right? Size is always going to be 1000. 1001 भी नहीं होगा, 999 भी नहीं होगा. It is storing 1000 numbers, so size is always going to be 1000. Index क्या होगा? Index of this array is going to be bit from 0 to 999. ठीक है? Index of this array starts from 0, goes till 999. But array size is 1000. So that's why I'll tell it. Give me 1000 spaces. Give me 1000 spaces. I want to store 1000 numbers. Okay. But index क्या है? Index is this numbers that I told ना, a of 0, a of 1, a of 2 I am referring. So this 0, 1, 2 are indexes. Okay. Okay. So if I want to run the loop, how will I run? I'll run the loop from 0 till where I'll everyone tell me the condition. What is going to be the condition? And I can write the condition in 2 ways. I less than 1000, right? Can you tell one more way? What is the another way to write the same thing? I less than 1000, yes. What is one more way to write the same thing? I less than equal to 999, right? So either I can write I less than 1000, which means I want to start from 0. I want to go till 1000. Okay? Simple. Less than 1000 means I'll go till 999 when it will a will become 1000. So 1000 is not less than 1000. So there it will be false, right? So either I can write this or I can write equal to 999. Okay? So I prefer writing this. You can prefer other way as well. I less than equal to 999. No issues. Okay. So in here inside this I want to write a of I is equals to what I want to do. I want to store the table of 8. So I can write 8 into I. Okay. So I want to store the table from 1. Okay. So what this will store? This will not store the table of 1. Now can you tell me the correct statement that will store the table of 1? So it is 8 into what this value is. Fill this blank. What this value will be. Fill this blank. Not I. It is not I. What will happen if I write I? See, when the loop will run for the first time, I value is 0. So a of 0 will store 8 into 0. I do not want the first number should be 8 into 1. I want to start the table from 8 into 1 and I want to go till 8 into 1 and I want to go till 8 into 1000. Okay, this is what I want. Yes, few of you got the correct answer. Into I plus 1. Okay, into I plus 1. So whenever you want to multiply something, we use brackets, right? In mathematics, we use brackets. If I want to multiply 8 to this, after this sum, first I want to do this sum and then I want to multiply. In mathematics, we use this bracket. Same way, we can write brackets in here as well. Okay. Can we use I equals to 1? Yes, we can use. So let me do this, print this in this particular fashion, and then now then I'll ask you question how we can print it by using I equals to 1. Okay. So let me just print this system dot out dot println, and we can print a of I. Simple. Let's run this. Okay, we are able to print. Okay. Yeah, I'm writing comments, right? I'm adding comments as like as many as I can, right? So that you get the context of what is happening. I'm writing small notes as well. Okay. Huh. Now the second question is, firstly tell me this approach is clear. We started from 0, we went to 1000, loop chalana tha, we wanted to firstly create an array of 1000 size. Okay, so we created an array of 1000 size. Simple. Next, what we wanted to do, wanted to run the loop from 0 to 1000. Array ke upar loop karna tha, 0 to 1000, we ran the loop. Now, only thing was trick was here that we want to store the table from starting from 1, not from 0. Right? That's why we started from I plus 1, not from I. Okay. Clear? Now, okay. This is one way to do this. So let me do it as copy this. Paste it over here. Okay. Let's say I want to run this from 1 to less than equals to 999. Or like let's say 1 to 1000. 1 से 1000 तक चला. If I'm running this loop, the loop will run 1000 times, right? Now tell me what is the change that I should make inside this loop. Like I want to print it. What this statement will be. Think. अब सोचो थोड़ा सा, you will be able to figure out. Okay. What is the statement that you will write? So should I write a of I? Firstly, tell me, should I start with a of I? Is this correct? Or we should write a of something else? Yeah, a of I minus 1. Right? Because our array's index will start from 0. No matter you are running loop from 1. अगर हम loop 1 से भी start करते हैं, ये फर्क नहीं पड़ता, right? No matter we are running loop from 1, our array index starts from 0, right? So array create over whatever array will get created, its index starts with 0, right? So it does not matter to the array whether I'm running the loop from 1 or something. Let's say this is the array that got created. So its index starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, right? Even if I run the loop from 1 and go to 1000, it does not matter to the array. I'll have to use a of 0 if I want to refer to the first location. Okay. Now, second thing. So this is the first, right? Second thing is, yeah. What will be this particular part? What I will write inside this? A of I minus 1 is equals to what? 8 into y, right? 8 into y. So yeah. And what will be the println? Println में क्या लिखना है? A of I minus 1, right? Got it? A of I minus 1, not I. Here also I minus 1, because for the first iteration, when the loop will run for the first time, I value is 1, but I want to update a of 0 in that time, right? I don't want to update that. So I'll update a of 0. I'm updating a of 0 with 8 into 1. So 8 into 1 is 8. So I'll update a of 0 as 8, right? I'll update a of 1 as 16, because it will be, I value will be 2. First I will be 1. I'll update this. Next I will become 2. I'll run, it is a of 1, and I'll update 8 into 2, right? I value is 2. It will become 16. Next I will change to 3. Then inside the loop I'll check 3 minus 1, it is 2. A of 2 will update to 8 into 320, and so on. Why I minus 1? Because my loop is starting from 1, but array always starts with index 0. So it does not matter to the array if I am starting my loop with 1, 10, 1000 or whatever. Array will always start with 0. Okay, line number 67, what this is doing? This is just printing. So when I value is 1, I want to print a of 0. So that's why a of I minus 1. Okay. So this is just another way of doing the same work. And why I showed this one, just for you to understand that arrays indexing always starts with 0. Right? We can write it as like we can write the loop however we want, but in array the indexing will always be from 0. Okay. So array is not dependent on how we are writing the loop. Okay. Arrays index always starts with 0 and it ends at n-1, whatever is the size. Okay. In line number 66, will it not continue to negative? No, because I, what can be the minimum value of I starts with 1, right? So 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay, so 0 is fine, a of 0 exists, right? And next iteration I becomes 2, then 3, then 4, and so on. So I keeps on increasing, I will never go negative. Okay, I is not going negative. So these are two ways to do the same thing. Either we can start the loop from 0 to 1000, and here I can do I plus 1. So this may be easy. I'll prefer this. I'll say you to write the loops always in this particular format. But I wanted to show you, for you to understand that it does not matter in what format you're writing the loop. Always the index in array will start from 0. Okay. Now understood, clear to everyone? Why we take I minus 1 in code, right? So here, okay, just notice the two loops. Just notice the two loops. So what is happening in the first iteration? What is I value in here? First iteration, my I value क्या है? First iteration, what is the value I want to store? I want to store 8 1 8. Okay. In the first iteration, what is the value over here? I value is 1. What it will find out? Sorry, I value is 0. In the first iteration, I value is 0. Okay. So a of 0. If I'm writing a of I, it means 0. What is the first? What is the value over here in the first iteration? 1. But I want to still update a of 0 क्योंकि array का index जो है वो 0 से ही start हो रहा है. Array's index is not dependent on how we are writing loop. हम कैसे loop लिख रहे हैं उसको उससे array को फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. Array को फर्क पड़ रहा है उसका index 0 से start होता है. ठीक है, मुझे अगर array में 0 index पे update करना है तो मुझे 0 ही फिर calculate करके निकालना पड़ेगा. I चाहे कुछ भी हो. तो यहाँ पे in this particular point I was already 0. I 0 ही था. In this point I was not 0, I was 1, so I have to change it to 0, right? So that's why I wrote I minus 1. Okay, and here accordingly I'll similarly find out that firstly I was 0, so I wrote it plus 1. So for 0 it will be 0 plus 1, so I will find out 8 1 8. For 1 it will be 16, right? So because here I want to store 8, here I want to 16, here I want to store 24, so on. What if we don't change? If you don't change, it will store some error value. उस पे error value store कर लेगा. For example, okay, let me just show you what will we do not write I plus 1 or I minus 1. Just run it line by line, you will get the answer, right? What will happen? So in this scenario, it will store some error value, कुछ गलती store कर लेगा. Let's say I'm simply writing 8 into I, right? So it will not store the first number as 8, it will store as 0. Right? If I go to the first number, it is not stored as 8, it is stored as 0. Okay. And if I go to the last number, it should have ended with 8 into 1000, but it is ending at 8 into 999. Right? Because 8 into 1999 is happening at last. But I wanted 8 from 1 to 1000. ठीक है, चलो इसको हिंदी में एक बार बताते हैं लास्ट टाइम, देन वी कैन सम दिस अप. ठीक है, चलो एरे जो है वो हमेशा 0 इंडेक्स से स्टार्ट होगा. एरे को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता हमने लूप 1 से स्टार्ट करा है, 0 से स्टार्ट करा है, 5 से स्टार्ट करा है, 10 से स्टार्ट करा है, एरे को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. ठीक है, एरे हमेशा 0 से ही स्टार्ट होगा. तो यहाँ पे हमने लूप कहाँ से स्टार्ट करा था? 0 से 1000 तक. ठीक है, सो हमने ए ऑफ आई लिखा था, सिंपल, क्योंकि एरे का फर्स्ट इंडेक्स भी 0 था, हमने लूप भी 0 से स्टार्ट करा, चलो सब मैच हो गया. जब फर्स्ट टाइम लूप चलेगा तो हम ए ऑफ 0 को रेफर करेंगे, सेकंड टाइम लूप चलेगा ए ऑफ 1 को रेफर करेंगे, थर्ड टाइम लूप चलेगा ए ऑफ 2 को रेफर करेंगे. ठीक है, सो हमारे लिए सही था, एरे भी मैच हो रहा था और लूप भी मैच हो रहा था. सो हमने ए ऑफ आई रेफर कर लिया. अब हमें वैल्यू स्टोर करना था ए ऑफ 0 में, पहले वाला जो था उस पे 8 into 1 स्टोर करना था, 8 into 0 स्टोर नहीं करना था. इसलिए हमने इसको आई प्लस 1 लिख दिया कि 0 है आई की वैल्यू, अभी उसमें 1 ऐड कर दो, आई प्लस 1 आ जाएगा, 8 into 1 कर लेगा. जब नेक्स्ट टाइम लूप चलेगा तो आई की वैल्यू 1 होगी और मुझे वहां पे 8 into 2 स्टोर करना है. ठीक है, सो मैंने अपडेट कर दिया i प्लस 1, so 8 into 2 स्टोर होगा वहां पे, ठीक है। सो ये ठीक है, अब ये ऐसे वर्क करेगा और फाइनल वैल्यू तक मिल जाएगा 8 से लेकर 1000 तक। सेकंड केस में क्या करा मैंने लूप चला दिया 1 से 1000 तक। लूप अभी भी 1000 टाइम चल रहा है, इस टाइम भी 1000 टाइम चल रहा है, 0 से 999,000 हो रहा है, यहाँ पे भी 1 से 1000 भी 1000 ही चल रहा है। लूप दोनों सिनेरियो में 1000 टाइम्स ही चल रहा है, बट एरे तो हमेशा 0 से स्टार्ट होता है। यहाँ पे लूप जब सबसे पहली बार चलेगा, वैल्यू क्या होगी आई की वैल्यू होगी 1, ठीक है, आई की वैल्यू 0 नहीं है। तो हम बट मुझे a ऑफ 0 पे 8 का मल्टीपल रखना था, 8 into 1 रखना था। सो मैंने क्या करा, i माइनस 1 लिख दिया यहाँ पे, इसको फिगर आउट करा कि हाँ अच्छा i माइनस 1 a ऑफ 0 पे रख देते हैं 8 का मल्टीपल, और 8 इंटू क्या रखना था, 8 into 1, i क्या है 1, ठीक है, तो 8 into i रख दे रहे इस पे a ऑफ 0 पे। नेक्स्ट टाइम जब लूप चलेगा तो i की वैल्यू हो जाएगी 2, और यहाँ पे क्या आएगा 2 माइनस 1 a ऑफ 1, a ऑफ 1 पे क्या वैल्यू रखना था 8 into 2, ठीक है, चलो वही रख दे रहे हैं, सिंपल। बेसिकली ये जो एरे बन रहा है, 0 पोजीशन पे 8 into 1 रखना था, 1 पोजीशन पे 8 into 2 रखना था, सेकंड में 8 into 3 रखना था, और इस ऐसे ही स्टोर करता जाना था 8 into 4। राइट, तो ये जो ऑफ बाय 1 है ना, 3 के टाइम 4, 2 के टाइम 3, इसको हमने हैंडल करा। और इससे हमें एक चीज समझ आई कि जो एरे बना रहे हैं वो लूप डिफाइन नहीं करता कि एरे कहाँ से कहाँ तक चलेगा। एरे का इंडेक्स फिक्स्ड है, 0 से n तक है उसका इंडेक्स, और वो चेंज नहीं होता है। हम एरे को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता हम लूप कहाँ से कहाँ तक चला रहे हैं, ठीक है। क्लियर टू एवरीवन लास्ट टाइम? फुल यस नो? Why we are doing these questions? To get more clarity on indexes of array, right? Okay, so we can store array, store values in array, we can manipulate values in array, we can do whatever operations we want. Acha, let's do a few questions, right? Let's try to find maximum in an array. Maximum number in an array. Okay, so let me just copy paste some ऊपर से कुछ code copy paste कर देते हैं. I've declared the array. I'm taking input from user. Okay, I've declared the array. I'm taking input from user. Let's say I want to take 10 length array बना लेते हैं, right? You can take an array of any size. ठीक है, one more thing, ठीक है, to note कि you can declare an array of any size. ठीक है, you can declare an array of 1000 size, 5000 size, 10,000 size, but you always do not need to use it. कि अगर मैंने मान लो कि if I declared an array of 1000 size, let's say I declared an array of 1000 size, right? So it is not compulsory for me, it is not mandatory for me to use this 1000 size array. I may only use 10 spaces of it, or I may use only 20 spaces of it. ठीक है, अगर मैंने मान लो 1000 वेरिएबल 1000 साइड का एरे क्रिएट कर दिया तो मुझे 1000 यूज करने की जरूरत नहीं है, आई कैन ओनली यूज 10, 20, 30 और व्हाटएवर आई वांट. ठीक है, so I just want to take 10 input from the user and then I want to find maximum. Now how to find maximum? So in order to find maximum, let me we take whatever is the minimum value, right? कि let's assume कि जो भी maximum होगा वो minimum, ठीक है. तो मान लो कोई भी एक वैल्यू assume कर लेते हैं, मान लो a of 0 minimum है, maximum है हमारा, ठीक है. a of 0 is the maximum value that we have in array, and then we'll check कि जो हमने assume करा, whatever we have assumed, is this correct? So हम loop करेंगे from 1 to remaining size. Remaining size क्या है? till 10, and then we'll check कि whatever maximum we have assumed, is this maximum greater than all the values? Is this a of 0 greater than all the values? If maximum is greater than a of I, अगर maximum बाकी array के सारे values से बड़ा है, a of 1, a of 2, a of 3, if maximum is greater than all the values in the array. Okay? So firstly what I did, I took input 10 numbers input from the user. Okay? 10 numbers input here, the same thing that we are doing. Now in order to find the maximum, I'll assume any number to be the maximum. So I assumed a of 0 is the maximum number in the array. Now what I want is, I want to check, is a of 0 the maximum number in array? क्या a of 0 maximum number है array में? Right? So what? How can a of 0 be maximum? If this number is greater than all the numbers in the array, right? If this number is greater than all the numbers in the array, then it is maximum. Then otherwise it is not. So if maximum, whatever I am assuming, if whatever value is in a of 0 if that is greater than all the numbers, say of 1 to 10, right, whatever rest 9 numbers are, if it is greater than all the remaining 9 numbers, it is the largest number, right? Otherwise, if this is not, then if any other number, let's say for if this maximum is greater, then it is the largest number. If it is not, if a of I is greater than maximum, agar a of I maximum se bada hai, right, for any number which is greater than a of 0, so it can be the maximum. Let's assume the maximum is this a of I. Okay. And finally, after running this loop, whatever output I'll get, that is the maximum in the array. So, let's print max. Let's run this. Okay, if you're not getting any hint of it, just wait a second. We'll run this code and we'll directly understand of what is happening. Okay, so let's enter 10 numbers. Take a 23, 45, 78, 67, 4, 32, 789, 67, 80, 20. Okay, so finally we are getting that 789 is the maximum number. Let me just print it as maximum plus. Next time we'll print this. Now, how this 789 is coming up, right? How we get this value? Let's just have a look on this array and then we'll get the idea. So let's see what we are doing. Okay. So what we are doing? We initially took 10 numbers in the array. That is simple. Okay. So let me just draw this array so that we'll get the idea. Okay, what is this 10 numbers and how it will be stored in this array? So we have an array. We have an array which can store 10 numbers. So first number is 45, 78, 67, 4, 32, 789, 67, 80, 20, and yeah. So these are the 10 numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, there should be one more. 45, 78, 67, 4, 32, 789, 67, 80, 20. I missed anyone? Yeah, we can enter minus number. 3, 4, 23, 23, 23, 5. 45, 78, 67, 4, 32, 789, 67, 80, 20. So there was one number above it. Okay, sorry. Okay, I'm not able to scroll it. Right. Okay. Let me remove this annotation. Yeah. Okay, there is a 23 as well at the start. Where someone remembered that I entered 23 as the first number. Whether someone is watching very carefully, so he remembered this. I entered 23 as the first number. Okay. So we entered these numbers, right? And this is how our array looks like. Okay. So what we are doing in here? So firstly, we took a maximum. So we assume what is the maximum? What is the maximum? Maximum is a variable which stores a number. So we gave it a value 23. That you know what? Assume the array of 0, whatever is where the first number in the array, that is maximum. And then we'll check whether this is the maximum or not. Ye maximum hai ki nahi, we'll check. Okay. So firstly we stored 23 and then we try to run through the entire array from 1 to 10. From 1 to 10 we try to run through the entire array to check whether 23 actually the maximum or not, right? Then we are checking is the a of 1 what is 45 is greater than 23. If 45 is greater than 23, then it may be the new maximum because 23 is not, right? I can understand from right now whatever I went through the array. So I assume 23 is the maximum, but 23 is not. I got a bigger number, so I'll assume 45 is the maximum. Okay. I'll run the loop. I'll go to 78. I'll check. Okay, if 45 is 78 greater than 45, yes, 78 is again greater than 45. So 78 may be the new maximum. 45 is not the new, is not the maximum for sure, because there is one number that is greater than 45. That is 78. Okay. Then we went to 67. Okay, 67 is not greater than 75, 78. Okay, so we'll say you are not the maximum. 78 is the maximum. We'll not do anything. Right? We are not doing anything if this condition does not satisfy. Right? If the condition does not satisfy, we'll not do anything. Right? If the condition satisfies, then we'll think of doing something. Then the next number is 4. 4 is also not greater than 78. 4 is greater than 78. Not. Is this condition true? No. This condition is not true. 4 is not greater than 17, so will not do anything. 32 again will not do anything. 789, yes, it is greater, so we'll do 789. Our new maximum is 789. Next is 67, not satisfied. 18 not satisfied. 20 not satisfied. Final value that will be remaining with maximum is 789. So when we print it outside this, it will tell us, okay, the maximum is 789. That is what it's getting printed. Okay. Why we give I equals to 1? Because I assumed 0 is the maximum number. 0 को मैंने assume ही कर लिया था maximum number. We can start with 0 as well. It is no problem, right? If any run this loop from 0 as well, it will not cause any problem. Only thing is first condition is of false, right? We are comparing first condition is a of 0. This is a of 0, and I'm just comparing it with 0. Right? Yeah. So okay, let's enter minus values. Okay. Let's try to answer negative. Negative 98, 67, 89, 45, minus 2, 78, 56, 3, 5. Okay, only negative numbers. ठीक है, चलो we'll enter only negative numbers as well. ठीक है, maximum is 345. ठीक है, we are getting maximum is 345. Same logic. First we are assuming the first number is maximum. If any number we find out that is greater than okay, understood the concept or not able to understand the code. ठीक है, हिंदी में समझाते चलो. Okay, let me try to come up again. So what we are doing is we are assuming that the first number in the array is the largest number. Okay, जो भी first number था array में, whatever first number we had in array, that is the largest number. And then we try to proceed, we try to compare, right? Now let's try to see it in terms of code. So how we'll assume that something is largest? I'll just store it in the variable. So I'm just storing it in a variable to tell that, okay, line number 76 is telling that I am storing it in a variable. I'm telling it that this is the largest number. I declared the array and then I stored it in a variable. I'm telling it that this is the largest number. Okay. Next, what I'm doing? Next, I'm running a loop. Okay, through the entire array from 0 to 10. Okay, that confusion is gone. I'm not starting with 1. I'm starting with 0 to 10. I'm comparing whether this number is, if there is any number in the loop that is larger than this number, whatever number I assume to be the largest number, if there is any number that is larger than this number, okay? If there is any number larger than this number, that will be the maximum. Why that will be the maximum number for now? So assume the array ends over here. Okay, so this number is larger than this number, so this is the largest in the array. Okay, okay. If the array does not end here, let's say the array ends here. Okay. So till now, firstly, I assumed that this is the largest number. Then I saw a larger number, I told that this is the largest number. Then I'll see again a larger number, I'll tell that this is the largest number. And I'll update this in the max. I'll write it in the max itself. Max is storing the largest number. Max is storing our assumption. Whatever number I assume that this is the largest number, max is storing it. Right? So every time I'm finding a new larger number, I will store it in max. So that finally, when I want to print outside this loop, what is the largest number in the array, I will know that max is the largest number. Can we do this by taking input from user? Yes, we are taking input from user, right? How can we take maximum from user? Why will we take maximum from user? We'll assume our maximum. User has given us the array and user has itself asked us, tell me the largest number in the array. Okay. Achha, chalo, let me take, there are 3 questions. One is how to find minimum, or enter all the negative numbers and explain in Hindi. Firstly, let me do all the negative numbers. Okay. Even if we enter all negative numbers, it will work. Let's say minus 2, minus 8, minus 98, minus 34, minus 89, minus 908, minus 78, minus 98, minus 56, minus 2. So maximum is minus 2. Out of this entire thing, maximum is minus 2. Yes, int max a of 0 is equals to yeah, this is used only for ones. ठीक है, चलो हिंदी में explain करते हैं. ठीक है, so in हिंदी let's say, so firstly हमने क्या करा, हमने एक array input ले लिया. ये तो सिंपल था, हम array input लेने सीखे, हमने 10 नंबर्स को array में डाला. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट इसके बाद हम क्या कर रहे हैं, हमने पहले एक assume करा कि हमें पता करना था यूजर ने हमें 10 नंबर दे दिया और यूजर हमें बोल रहा है कि मुझे बताओ इसमें से सबसे बड़ा नंबर कौन सा है, टेल मी, मेरे को मैक्सिमम नंबर चाहिए, मुझे बताओ मैक्सिमम नंबर क्या है। तो मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ, व्हाट आई एम डूइंग, आई एम स्टोरिंग ऑल दीज नंबर्स, मैं सारे नंबर्स को लेके मैं उस एक एरे में डाल दिया, ठीक है। अब उसमें से मैं अज्यूम कर लेता हूँ कोई भी एक नंबर लार्जेस्ट है, मुझे नहीं पता कौन सा नंबर लार्जेस्ट है, मैंने अज्यूम कर लिया ये जीरो में जो भी नंबर है वो लार्जेस्ट है, ठीक, कोई भी नंबर को अज्यूम कर लो, 0 1 2, कोई भी नंबर जो एरे में एग्जिस्ट करता है अज्यूम कर लो कि वो लार्जेस्ट है, ठीक है। अब उसके बाद मैंने क्या करा, लूप रन करा, वीरेना लूप, हम लूप रन करके चेक कर रहे हैं कि क्या जो हमने नंबर लार्जेस्ट एज्यूम करा है, क्या कोई भी ऐसा नंबर है जो इससे बड़ा है। अगर कोई भी एक नंबर है जो इससे बड़ा है तो वो लार्जेस्ट होगा, ये लार्जेस्ट नहीं है, ठीक है। और अगर कोई और नंबर मिलता है जो उस नंबर से भी बड़ा है तो वो लार्जेस्ट हो जाएगा, अगर कोई और नंबर मिलता है जो उस नंबर से बड़ा है तो वो लार्जेस्ट हो जाएगा। जैसे कि हो रहा है, हमने स्टार्ट करा 23 को लार्जेस्ट एज्यूम करा, अब हम एरे में आगे बढ़ रहे हैं और मुझे दिखा कि अच्छा ये लार्जर है, अच्छा ये लार्जर है तो ये लार्जेस्ट हो गया, ये लार्जर है तो ये लार्जेस्ट हो गया। अब ये सेम लॉजिक को मैंने कोड में बस लिख दिया कि जो भी मुझे नया नंबर दिखता है जो इससे बड़ा है वो लार्जेस्ट हो गया, ठीक है। And now there is one trivia, एक मैं अच्छी चीज बताता हूँ, let me tell you one thing. If I have not told you this logic, if I never told you about this logic to find the largest number in an array, ठीक है, in a list of numbers, if I have never told this logic, this is how you find the largest number, you will still be following this approach. Let's say I give you a list of numbers, okay, and I tell you to find the largest number. How your brain will work, how you will find it, you will start with from the start of the array and you will see which is the largest number, you will go to the end of the array and you will see which is the largest number that you came across, right. When you will start, you'll assume this is the largest and then you'll say okay, I got 78, 78 is largest, I got 789, okay, this is largest, okay, there is no more larger number. This your brain does this computation very fast, we do this very fast, हम खुद ही बहुत जल्दी कर लेते हैं, but we do not realize कि in real time if I give you 100 numbers and tell you to find the largest number, you yourself will use this same logic, okay. Line number 80, what it is doing, so every time I get a new larger number, right, so I have to remember that I got a new larger number. How will I remember? So in order to remember the larger number, I created a variable that I'll store it in this variable. Whenever I'll find a new larger number, I will store it in a variable, okay. In 79, if you write less than equal to, it will not make any difference. If it is max is equal to a of I, you are updating max by I, it will not change, right. Here your small largest number was -2, if you find again -2, if you change maximum to -2, it will not change, right. So number is not changing, okay. How to find second largest, that will come up. Second largest mean there is a lot of things to tell. Firstly tell me largest, everyone understood. Which index, now everyone think of how we can print the index. Can anyone give a hint? Anyone think of how we can print index? If along with this maximum I want to also print the index, what is the index this number is present? Index is I, but I cannot print I outside the loop. I is not applicable outside the loop. If I print I, what will happen? So think of a trick. Index equals to I, right? So how I created max, I'll also create a variable. Let's say I call it IND. I assume the initial maximum is of 0. I'll assume initial maximum is at 0 location. Index is 0. Okay. Whenever I'll update max, whenever I'll say that I found a new max, change max value to I. I'll also change index value to I. Okay. Outside this loop, I can print. Let's say I want to add this and I want to print I as well. Sorry, IND. So I cannot print I outside the loop, but I can print IND. Let me clear all these drawings. So we created an index outside the loop, similar to how we created a maximum variable, which will store maximum number. One variable is storing the maximum number, one variable is storing the index, right? So whenever we get a larger number than whatever we have, we store it in max. Okay. Similarly, whenever we get a similarly, whenever we get the update this, we also update the index, that this is the index of the new larger number. Okay. Can we initialize max index and then assign I to where assigning max? Yeah, right. Okay. I'll ask it to upload it. Don't worry, the videos will get uploaded. Sorry, that video might have got missed, but you'll receive all the videos by today. Clear? Let's try to run this for last time. Yeah, let's try to see the index. So let's try to enter it some numbers. Let's try to enter a mix of numbers: -8, 23, 100, 987, 78, 93, 67, 89. Let's say 12. So maximum is 987 and it is at index 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So it is printing correctly that this is the maximum number and this is the index of that maximum number. Okay, clear everyone? What this? How to print maximum number in the array? Okay. Now tell me everyone, there is only one thing that you need to change and you can print the minimum number. Now tell me what is the thing that you need to change? Only one line of code is only one line of code. Only no max, nothing will change. Only one line of code you have to change one thing. Right? Yeah, just reverse this. So if I write instead of this as this, it will find the minimum. Right? So so what is happening now? Earlier, whenever I assume that this is maximum, it has nothing to do with this variable, right? So here, whenever I get a value which is less than whatever I assumed as a max, so I'm updating it. So at the end, when I'll reach, I'll find out the minimum value, right? So earlier when I was checking if I got a larger number, I was updating it. And this is how you will get tricked in an actual coding test for a company, right? So they will give the variable name as max, right? So from the variable name, you will understand, okay, we are assuming max and this is a program to find max. But they will trick you over here by changing this line. Okay, they will assume because variable name is something you can give any name, right? So you can give any name, it will work, right? So variable name has nothing to do with the logic. Naam to hum de rahe, right? It has nothing to do with the logic, and this is how you will actually get tricked in your interview coding questions, right? So if you see a question like this and you'll see what is the output, so you will rightly see, okay, sir told us that this is to find the maximum. So this is a maximum code, right? So let's print the maximum. No, just check this condition. What is this symbol? Whether I'm comparing, whether I'm updating by checking the whether I'm checking for whether I'm updating by finding a larger number or whether I'm updating by finding a smaller number. So here, whenever I find a smaller number, I'm updating mx. So at the end of the loop, I'll have the smallest number. Okay. If we give negative values, it is printing the lowest negative value. Why? Because that is largest in value, right? So if I compare by less than, greater than, so this is okay. Tell me which one is correct, right? So if I compare them by less than, greater than, if I compare these two numbers by less than, greater than, so -2 is less than -5. Is it true? No, it is false, right? So less than, greater than always compares for values. So if you enter all the negative numbers, so it will give you the largest number in value, right? In value terms, it -2 is larger. In value terms, -5 is smaller. Okay. Chalo, let's try to run this for the last time and try to see the minimum, right? So I've just changed this symbol from greater than to less than, and let's try to run. Let's try to give it values. -98, 28, 78, 34, -2, 55, 29, 23. See, we are getting minimum is, sorry, we are printing as well, maximum is -98 and the index is 2, right? But we are calculating actually the minimum, right? So if we change the symbol, we'll get the minimum number in output, right? Okay. And remember this thing, if you get such kind of questions in coding interviews, just don't try to think that, okay, this is something which we have done. Check for these things. These are the places where where the question would be tricked. Okay? And you will get a different output altogether. Okay. So this will find out the minimum. If you write it like this, it will find out the maximum. Clear? The entire code is this. We are taking input. We are assuming that whatever is the zeroth index is the minimum or maximum, and then we are finding out that. Or if we are checking whether whatever we assumed is correct or not. If it is correct, then it is maximum. Otherwise, it is not. Right? If anyone we find out, IND is a variable. Yes, IND is a variable. Right? We created IND variable. because we also wanted to find the maximum, we also wanted to store the index of maximum. Okay. Acha. Now instead of making this assumptions, you'll also see that instead of writing this at places, it will be written as something like this. If you go to online codes and if see, it will written like int underscore min. Okay. When we are finding maximum, in the maximum code it will be written as int underscore min, and in the minimum code it will be written as int underscore max. Now what is this int underscore min or int underscore max? Okay. So firstly, when we ran, we assumed कि array में जो भी number है, we assumed any one number from the array to be minimum or maximum. Okay, let me talk about only maximum and you will understand minimum from that. So whenever we wanted to calculate the maximum, we assume that the first number in the array is maximum. Okay. Instead of assuming the first number in the array is maximum, what we can do is we can assume the minimum smallest possible number. What is the smallest possible number? It is minus 2 to the power 31 that we can store in integer. We'll assume this as the minimum number. So is the maximum number. Is this a library? No, this is just a symbol which just says that this is the minimum number that an integer can store. This is the minimum number that an integer can store, and the maximum number that an integer can store is 2 to the power 31 minus 1. Okay. So the integer can store numbers from minus 2 to the power 31 to 2 to the power 31 minus 1. Okay. So instead of assuming ki, let me just instead of assuming ki a of 0 is the maximum number, what I'll tell is कि assume the smallest number that integer can store is the maximum number. Whatever is the smallest number that integer can store is the maximum number. Okay, and we'll calculate that. Okay, I assume the smallest number minus 2 to the power 31 is the maximum number, and then we'll check is this the real maximum. So all like it will not be the real maximum. The real maximum will be a number from the integer line, right? 982. It's in. No, we don't need int, right? So it is integer. All of them are integers, and we're running it as integers, right? So we are just array is also integer, so I'm storing an integer in an integer. Is int max not a library? Not. No, int max, int min is not a library. It's just a symbol which represents this number. Okay. Int max is a little complicated. Yes. So basically assume कि पहले हमने क्या करा? When I was writing a of 0, so assuming कि the 0th number in the array is the maximum number, right? Array में जो भी पहला number है, that is the maximum number. Instead of this, we can also assume कि this is the like whatever is the minimum number, जो भी minimum number array store कर सकता है, जो भी minimum number can exist in the array. If I give numbers to the array, whichever is the minimum number that an integer can store, integer जो भी सबसे छोटा number store कर सकता है, I'll assume that smallest number is the maximum. Okay. And then if I run this and I compare, so it will still work the same way. Okay. Sorry, it will have to be written as math.min. Yeah, this one. It cannot find symbol. Let me just import something. Let's run this. अभी किस लाइब्रेरी का पार्ट है? एक सेकंड. Okay. It's not min or max. The symbol in Java is integer max value. Okay. The symbol is not math.min. Sorry, I confused it with the C++ language. The symbol is integer.min value. Yeah, symbol. Let me just verify this symbol and then I'll tell key language में symbol यही है. Yeah, it is this symbol. ठीक है. We don't need to import something as well. Okay, let me just clarify कि क्या किया मैंने. What did we do? Sorry for the confusion, I wrote it as min value. Okay, that was a symbol that is in C++. Okay, the symbol here is integer dot min value. Okay, this is the symbol. Okay, so what I did initially, what we did कि पहले हमने क्या करा कि हमने assume करा था, we assumed कि array is any number in the array, and we picked up any number from the array, and we assumed that this is the largest number, and then we checked whether is there any number larger than this. Okay. Now instead of assuming any number from the array, okay, instead of assuming any number from the array, I assume that okay, instead of assuming any number in the array, I assume that the smallest number that can exist, जो भी सबसे छोटा number जो exist कर सकता है वही maximum value है, ठीक है. Whatever is the smallest number that can exist, that is the maximum value, ठीक है. Now if I give input, so what will happen? So I assume कि जो भी smallest number है -2 to the power 31, that is the smallest number. I assume that this is the maximum value, and I give inputs to my array. Right? I'll give inputs to the array. What will happen? I have numbers in the array. Let's say 5, 4, 10, 18, 12. Okay? And this is, let's say, -2, 8, 4, 3, 2 be. Okay? 4, 8, 2. This is a large negative number. Okay? This is just a large negative number. Okay? So I assume that this is the maximum value. Okay? And when I'm comparing over here, I'm checking is this is any number in the array greater than this number? Yes. So I'll find okay 5 is larger than this number. So I'll change it. I'll say that 5 is the largest number. Next I'll find 4. So 4 is not larger than 5. Next I'll find 10. Okay, 10 is larger than 5. Okay. Next I'll find 18. Okay, 18 is larger than 10. Next I'll find 12. Okay, 12 is not. So final value is 18. 18 is my largest number. Okay. So instead of assuming कि I assumed a of 0, which is the largest number, I assumed 5 as the largest number. I took the minimum number जो भी exist कर सकता है, minimum integer that can exist, whatever is the minimum number that this integer variable can store. Integer is a variable; it can store all like a given set of number, right? So it can store a minimum number, it can store a larger number, right? So whatever is the minimum number that this integer can store, I assume that this is the maximum value. So this is the maximum number that will exist. Okay. And we ran this code. Now let's give it few numbers. Let's give it 10 numbers. 12, 45, 98, 76, -2, 33, 45, 67, 76, 54, 45. We are getting maximum is 345. Simple. From line 82, what we are getting? From line 82, we are getting the index, that we are storing the index. So after this loop, I has no meaning. I will not mean anything after this loop. Right? So I want to store the index whenever I found the maximum value, whenever I changed this maximum value. So I change it to I. Okay. What is line 76? In line 76, I'm assuming that the minimum number that can exist, जो भी सबसे छोटा number exist कर सकता है, वो मेरा maximum number. ठीक है. So पहले जैसे मैंने assume करा था ना, array में से कोई भी एक number is the minimum value. I assume कि whatever is the minimum smallest number that exists is the minimum value. Okay. So this is just another way. If you are getting problems, facing issues in understanding this, you can use this as well. A of 0. Okay. Okay. How many of you understood any one of these? दोनों में से कोई एक समझ आ गया. ठीक है. Either you can take A of 0 or a integer dot min value, whichever way you both. Right? Both works. Any one also works. Right? Both understood. So basically assume कर लो जो छोटा नंबर है वो मैक्सिमम है. कंपेयर कर लो. एरे में कोई बड़ा मिल जाए तो वो बड़ा है. Right? Is min value index? No. Is min value is not index. Min value is a number. It is something like this, -2 to the power something this. Okay? Min value is a very large negative number. Very large negative. Okay? This is a very large negative number. I assume that this is a very large negative number, and this is my maximum value. Okay? So if I find any number larger than this, which I should find, right, in the array, because so I can say that that is the larger form. If I find any number larger than that, so that becomes the new larger. Okay. If 2 is greater than 2, condition of 2 or false, it is false. If 2 is greater than 2, it is false. 2 is not greater than 2. Okay. Clear? Yeah. Similarly, can we do max value? Yes, we can do it. So when we'll do max value, if I just do it max value, we'll do it max value when we want to find the minimum number. If I want to find the minimum number, I'll assume whatever is the largest number that can exist in the array. जो भी largest number होगा जो exist कर सकता है array में, I'll assume that is the minimum number, and then I'll check if there is any number smaller than this. If there is any number smaller than this, if I find out any number smaller than this, that becomes the minimum number. So this also works. If I change it to max value and I change the sign, it will be able to find out the smallest number. So let's sum up what we learned today, right? Yes, I'll do that. So we have 10 minutes. Let's quickly sum up whatever we learned today, and then we can call it for the day. Okay. Okay. Array is somewhat tricky. Okay. So don't get afraid. Okay. I did one of the tricky questions in array. But basically I want you to understand somewhat of array, right? So that you can take something from array. A little bit mean value max value is somewhat complicated. Yes. You can use the A of 0 wala trick, right? You don't need to use the mean value max value for now. Later we'll gradually learn and you'll gradually get comfortable using that. So today we started with arrays, right? So we understood that we have primitive data types, right? Where we store small value like integer, character, float, and then we have derived data types. Why we call them derived data types? Because these are made from primitive data types, right? Okay. Next, okay, now what are the derived data types? String is a derived data type because it is comprised of characters. Array is a derived data type. Now what is array? Array is something that can store a list of any fundamental data type. So we saw today with integers. I'll try to show you with characters. I'll try to show you to float, right? Only thing you need to change is just change this float and this to float. This change this to character and this to character. That will work, right? Yes, I'll recap tomorrow as well. Tomorrow we'll recap everything. So I'll skip functions. We'll do that in the main batch, and I'll also see if like we can skip. So I'll try to cover that 15 to 20 minutes, not max. So if we can skip questions from functions on your initial screen, I'll skip functions and we will only stick to this much. Okay. So that we can be good on this at least. And don't worry, even if you got doubts on this, if like in the main batch, we'll again start from scratch. We'll start from day 0. We'll start from data types. Take it from where we started our first day. So even if you missed or even if you understood somewhat, so in few concepts you have doubt, those will automatically get cleared of them. Okay. So next what we did, so array can basically store a list of numbers. How we declare array? We just write int a. So int a square bracket, right? So if we write int a, that is integer data type, which can store a value, integer variable. If we write int a square bracket, that can store a list of numbers. And we used new to tell the compiler, give me some memory. I want to create an array, right? Of 10. Okay. So I'll cover functions. Okay, don't worry. Okay, you want functions in coding test? We'll cover that tomorrow. Okay, don't worry. We'll cover functions. Okay. Okay. So how we refer to array? So we created one variable. We have only one variable, but we want to refer to all those 10 or 20 or 100 or 1000 numbers that we stored, right? So in order to do that, we'll refer to them by using a of 0, a of 1, right? Okay, so we'll refer to them as a of 0, a of 1. If we want to take these values from user, we can simply do like however we used to write, right? If for variable we used to write a is equals to sc dot next int. Same thing we can write, right? Variable we used to write like this. Same thing we can write for arrays as a of 0, simple, or a of 1 or a of 2 or a of 10 or whatever value we want to give, right? Whatever arrays index we want to initialize. Next, inside this loop, we can simply give it like we can simply run this in a loop, so that if we want to take n numbers, we can take n numbers. If we want to take 10 numbers, we can take 10 numbers. If we want to take 100 numbers, we can take 100 numbers. Next, if we want to print, we can again use loops. If anything we want to do on array, we have to use loops. We'll use loops to go through the entire array, right? Next, we created array of 1000 and we wanted to print the table of 8. So one way was we ran the loop from 0 to 1000. We stored all the values from a of I to 8 into I plus 1. Why I plus 1? Because I is 0 and we wanted to start from 8, right? 8 into 1. The initial question was start from 8 into 1 to and go to 8 into 1000, right? So that's why we did I plus 1. Okay. And there is one more way to do it. If you start from 1, we can do it I minus 1. Right? We can refer to A of I as A of I minus 1 instead of I, because we want to store A of 0 as 8. Okay. Next, we wanted to find the maximum number. So what we did is we assumed that A of 0 is the maximum number, and then we checked if there is any number larger than A of 0, we'll change it. We'll change our assumption to that number. That will update our assumption in max to that number. Okay. Okay. And yeah, if we want to find the minimum, then we can change this symbol to less than, right? Sorry, greater than, and it will find the minimum. How to edit array after edit? How to edit array? Simple, right? If we have the input, whatever value you want to edit, just edit. Like A of 7, you want to write any value, give it any value, whatever you want, right? So you can update it as however you wish, right? You can update it by giving any value you want. Okay. And you can do it in loop if you want to update the entire array as well, right? Okay, clear everyone? Quick yes or no? Okay, quick yes or no for all of you who understood 50%. 50% समझ आ गया? Yes. Yeah, I can assume कि हाँ maximum class understood. I'll share this. Today I'll not miss this. I'll share this. I'll save this right now as well. Right? Yeah. Sorry for that. Yesterday it got deleted somehow. Please take screenshots from the recordings. Okay. Someone please volunteer to paste that in your Discord group so that others can also see. Right. So this may be helpful for you to have a quick go through all this notes before your like initial screen, right? Yeah, 50% works, right? You can watch the recording once more. You can do a few, like you can write few arrays. You can try to do few small questions on array. You will understand it automatically. Okay. Today, please try to play around. Even if you have not done coding, even if you did not try it all these days, please try to play around today at least. Okay. Arrays is somewhat tricky. You may forget, right? So try to play around with it somewhat on your compiler and you'll understand. Okay. So whatever I teach, try to play around. Whatever questions you ask, can I reassign it? Can I give it a new value? What will happen if I run the loop from this to this? Do all those experiments. Make errors, but do experiments and you'll see what is happening and you will understand. Okay. So, okay. So thank you everyone. I'll try to take your name batch if possible. Okay. Tomorrow is functions. Tomorrow we'll start with functions. Function is very small concept for 10 to 15 minutes. And then we'll recap of everything that we learned. Okay. Thank you everyone. See you again tomorrow. Bye-bye. Good night.